Hello, the following video is a recording of our first artist feedback AMA session featuring only street and documentary photography collections. This session was held in the MetaJungle Discord on March 24th and was hosted by talented photographers Mike Schmidt and Samia Brada. We want to thank Mike and Samia for the time that they took in reviewing and giving honest feedback on these 14 different street and documentary NFT photography collections, and we also want to thank all of the artists that submitted their work for review. These are great sessions that provide valuable information for curating and creating your NFT collections, and we look forward to providing more of these sessions for you. With that, let's go on ahead and get into it.
We have Sammy with us, and he's a really amazing street photographer in the space. He's actually award winning, and he's done a TEDx talk, which is something really awesome. You got to be really nervous to get up on stage and talk in front of a bunch of people, but that's really cool. So I'm really glad to have him here. I'm a huge fan of his work, and he's actually taken a lot of the feedback from previous AMAs and um, dropped his last series, which is that black and white diptych series, correct, Sammy? And
Yep.
um, and it did really phenomenally. It's attributed a lot of the success to that to its ability to be able to curate that work and learn a lot of the knowledge that came out of the AMAs. Nice to have you here, Sammy. Really appreciate you and your perspective today. So I just wanted to introduce you.
Thank you so much, Mike. And I must say that because it's been a long way that we have come. Right from the day when I got my collection reviewed from you and made those changes, and now that we are co-hosting this together, and when we actually looked into the collections and the kind of thoughts we exchanged, we are pretty much on the same page. And I really hope that everybody who has joined in will take the suggestions and they will also do well in their collections. That's the ultimate, aim and the objective of the session. So let's begin.
Perfect, sure. And and it's okay if we're not on the same page about some things too, because that's we all have opinions. So great. So first collection is in the shape of a person, and who's this by, Sammy?
So before we start, Mikey, let's just discuss a bit about how are we differentiating between the documentary and the street perspectives.
Hmm.
That what how what did we actually discuss and what we did we actually look at while we were actually analyzing the two collections. So if you allow me, I'll just quickly in 2-3 minutes give the audience a bit of understanding that how do we perceive street and documentary to be different from each other, and while we were categorizing those, what were the parameters that we looked at. All right.
Absolutely perfect.
Okay, great. So this is for everybody who has joined us. So the idea is to keep everything very simple, right? So very simply put, what are the key differences between a street and a documentary photography? Very simply, if you get out of your home with a camera in your hand thinking or preconceived with ideas that okay, I'll come back home with these kind of images in mind, that contributes to documentary photography. But if you go out there open mindset, if you actually are open to ideas that whatever I look at, whatever I see outside, in terms of the color composition, the juxtaposition, light and shadow, or anything that might happen, you're open to these ideas, you will come back with street images. This is the major difference in very simple words. However, if there's a small distinction that we will make is a street photograph, one picture can make one complete story. That means a one of one can itself be a strong story in itself, and a documentary can be a series like of 7 or 8 to 10 to 12 images together can form one coherent storyline. So these were the two things that we looked at because our session talks about street and documentary. That's why I wanted to put this up front before we actually go into the depth of analyzing street and documentary photography collections itself, so that everything is very clear to the audience. Right, I hope that clarifies and makes sense before we move to the first person, who's Suresh. I think Suresh sir
Yeah,
is here. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
sure. Before that, I just wanted to say, I definitely echo what you just said about documentary and street. And so, me and Alpha have been, sort of trying to put things into genres lately, and it made me want to go look into my own collections and think, like what genres do some of this stuff fit into? And so, I looked at my Italian American series, and I realized that that's documentary. And I looked into this series that I did on surfers, and I realized that's documentary. And then when I looked at my Genesis series, Solitary Days, I realized, well, this is street, because, like you said, when I was shooting those photos of the surfers, or the Italian Americans from Brooklyn, I had a preconceived idea of some of the images that I was looking to capture. And when I was out on the street for my Solitary Days series, I really kept an open mind as to, I'm just being an observer of what's happening around me. And I think that's a good definition that describes the difference to you, and to me at least, at what separates documentary from street. So I really appreciate that. And so
Absolutely.
we can move on to in the shape of a person. You said by this is work by there's Reshman. What's the full name?
Suresh.
And Suresh is here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, great, cool. And so we both looked over this collection together, and there's definitely a few standout pieces here. The first few that we talked about was, I opened up this one first. He mentioned to me that Alpha Trilogy actually owned this. I didn't even realize, but this is a really standout one to me. Really beautiful lighting and environment, and man walking away here. Just a great model image for a silhouette. Really loved this umbrella shot. This is one of my favorites. I love the double shadow here with the umbrella. It's really surreal, really interesting, and the backlight is really important in having something like this happen. So this is
Yeah.
really well done with backlit, and beautiful atmosphere with the rain and everything going around it. There's something you want to say, Sammy?
Yeah. Yeah. So absolutely, these two images are definitely some of my favorites. One of my other favorite would be the one just beside, exactly, because just look at the flare. The position of that flare. It is like a next level sort of a shot where actually it gives you a futuristic sort of a idea. So I feel that these three images are definitely the hero images or the standout images out here. Mike, if you just could come back a bit with that, yeah. What I felt about the third image from the top is the third image. Yeah, if it were inverted, maybe it would have made a bigger impact, because you're talking about shapes, right? Shape of a person, and since here there's a cloak that's actually flowing, and there's a bit of interesting composition, triangle composition being made, and I actually completely reversed it. I mean inverted it. It actually looks better to me. Is somebody on unmuted? I think.
Someone's coming in with a little noise.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I think Nakul, yeah. So what I felt is both of us felt maybe that shot with that vegetables in it. Mikey, just go down a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
this one was slightly something that we thought was a bit weak. If you look at the other compositions, because they were very strong. Here there is a bit of a element that stick, which is it's diverting a bit, especially because of the light and shadow play, and it's in pure silhouette, that person in there, which I felt is a bit weak, compared to the others. And your question was also something in that, in on those lines, is that you are saying that you have a 12-piece collection, and whether you want to cut it down to around like 10 or 8 pieces. So if you want to cut it down, I and Mike both feel that this could be one of the images that you can actually go ahead and cut it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And then
Mike,
we looked at
yeah.
this image too. This would be the
Yes.
other one that we would have
Yes.
probably cut. And it's while you definitely have a great eye for composing images and seeing things within a reflection. It was just harder to sort of create a story, at least for me, from this image here, where you've had some other silhouetted images, like um, let's see, it jumps around on me. I wanted to click on actually this one,
Yeah.
where really you have this beautiful story going on here. I mean, this gentleman's shadow here almost reminds me of this man here, and the color relationships that you have between these pinks and yellows and blues. And Sammy mentioned that the silhouette over here of the person
Yeah.
just almost touching him. there's just a really complex and dimensional story that's going on in this image that really we didn't see going on in that other one. So but
Yeah.
we find the series to be really strong, and so if we were to pull it, it would be a number two, which is the fruit stand one or vegetable stand, and number 10 here, and I think that we could tie into a more cohesive a series of images. You want to talk about this one, Sammy? I know you really
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah, this was like phenomenal because look at the shape of the person on the right hand side. The way that it almost appears like a apparition, this particular person, or that the lady, whatever it is. And since the person on the left hand side is well lit, that is why the contrast is showing so well with respect to the background. And of course that little that nest or the hatch that the person is carrying on, it completes the frame. It's a fantastic image, that black and white, the complete silhouette and the lit portion. I think it's one of the best images of the lot. So I feel, Suresh, you should definitely keep this. Definitely, those 10 images that we looked at, they should be definitely part of it. And I see this collection actually doing pretty well. In fact, Mike, we can talk about the other one as well that you pointed out. Just the right on the right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This one here,
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah, and
Very
so
interesting.
really interesting. I really enjoyed this image because well, one, I mean, you have so much texture going on, and these rustic texture and decay and these browns and the blues and the colors really bring this together. But also the placement and the composition of this, which at first I didn't know. I'm like, is this a silhouette? And then I'm like, no, maybe it's not a silhouette because you can see the person, but then it's translucent so you can see through them. And then so Sammy said, well, maybe it's even a reflection. And so it's those things that happen in images that um, really make me ask more questions about a photograph. I made a tweet the other day saying that I think the best images for me are the ones that ask more questions rather than give answers, and I feel like this is one of those images for me. So I really do enjoy that. So
Yeah.
very well seen on a lot of this street photography. Really, really good work. So we're impressed by the work, and I think we think it's a sellout series, and it just needs a couple of them to come out, and maybe you could try to invert this, flip this, and see how you think it looks. Sammy says he thinks it looks really good. I haven't actually flipped it quite yet. I stood upside down in my chair and I tried to look at it, but didn't really look too well. But um, yeah,
Just one
uh,
small thing that I wanted to add, because he had one more question regarding the name of the collection and the number plus the description. So I feel, Mike, this is pretty much in shape, just like the shape of a person. I think the descriptions and the names are quite well done. So I don't think any change is needed on that front. Uh, I feel that if you want to ask something, Suresh, if you are there in the call, I think you can probably unmute and you can ask us. Else, we are good to go with this.
yeah. This is
Yeah, no,
Go ahead.
sorry. Well, first of all, thank you for your review. I think was lovely, very informative, and I think I agree with you about the two pieces. And yeah, so I think I'll remove them. And regarding the inverted thing, I checked it on my phone right now. It does actually look better. So yeah, let me check. Let me think about that. But I think overall, yeah, I don't really have other questions. I think you guys covered it all. So
And so, I mean, my question to you would be, so, only two people collected on this and the price is right. And so, this is really good, I call it street photography. And so, have you been as active, in the community lately, or let me see how long, this was minted. So 1 month, 2 months ago, you minted this.
yeah,
So, the collection sat stagnant for quite a bit. And so, I don't open up your Twitter here, and I'm not following, and so now I'm definitely following because I really love the work. But I don't know, have you been following Sammy, and if there's anything that you could do?
yeah, no, I've been following people. I try to be as active as I can, but I mean, it takes a lot of time. But I try to at least post every day. Talk with the community and all that. Try to be active. Somehow, so far, it hasn't really picked up. So I just need to keep at it. You know.
I think
Well,
today
there's
is the
some
day. today is the day.
Yeah,
It will. Yeah,
I agree. I agree. I think that we have enough people viewing this, and I think that there's some really great work in here that maybe some of the pictures will get picked up today, and hopefully, and that will cause some momentum because we're a community, and so we retweet and we get the word out, and I'd love to retweet this collection, whether or not there's a sale or not today. I'd love this to be in the eyes of more viewers, and I think it's really, really beautiful street work. So and you have your descriptions. And descriptions look really good. And so I have nothing else to say about this collection. So if that's all the questions that you have, then I'd be willing to move on.
Thank you so much. No, yeah, I don't have any other questions. Really appreciate what you guys are doing. Like tremendous support. So yeah, let's stay in touch.
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
and so we're moving on now to Gypsy's Time double XL collection, and this is by Berker Dalmas. And so I'll just read this real quick. I spent a long time in the gypsy neighborhoods. I witnessed their colorful lives, their joyful and difficult lives. I saw many real and emotional moments. I photographed them and documented them. I met wonderful people. Proud to publish here the photos I've taken in gypsy neighborhoods for years. Every photo has a story. You should know that the income earned here will return to social projects and people in distress. I will describe people of different colors and different geographies of the world by photographing them. I'll raise awareness by showing their difficult lives. The works of art you purchase will contribute to this purpose. 10 works and one of one. It's a great description. I really like that. What you plan to do. And so, first initial impression of this one when I
Yeah,
opened it up and saw it was really really beautiful colors,
yeah,
really great compositions, storytelling, and such. And there's a few standout images for me and Sammy. So, you know, one of the standout images for me, outside of the one that has been collected here that we both think is really, really great, was this image. I thought was really beautiful here. I love the expression on the face. I love the colors, the purples to the greens, the light that's coming in. This pipe that you can see here that just lets out some exhaust from the home, and then the kicker for me was really this young
yeah,
boy laid out with his hand here. Really beautiful, beautifully done. Love how the silky red here continues kind of from her scarf down here. I think it's a great composition and moves with the pipe and everything. Really beautifully laid out images. Um, Sammy and you,
yeah.
Sammy's really loved this shot here. And if you want to talk about that.
Yes, absolutely. I think this shot depicts that exuberance of childhood, the way that the kids interact, and if you look at the kid at the back, that person is also pretty much busy in the daily course. Still somebody, the other person in front is playing the violin. That means there's life even in the daily course, even in between the daily course, which means that it's a perfect documentary shot of that entire scene that was happening, and the layers are very beautiful, the colors are very beautiful. I think this is, in my opinion, after the one that was sold, that was probably the standout image. I think for me this was the second best of the lot, and then what Mikey has said. So I think it's you have very good diversity in your work. So there's the night shot that probably used flash. This one has a beautiful moment in it, the other one has beautiful light. So overall you actually understand the essence of documentary photography. And what I wanted to stress here is, because you have a very limited space to work with, you still brought out such interesting compositions. It shows that you really understand what documentary photography is. Yeah,
Very well said. And so, to go look at that image that, we
yeah,
really thought stood out. The thing that I said about this was like, I really loved her powerful stance as a woman. I thought it was really beautiful, and she has such confidence in her face here. And I loved the juxtaposition between her and the flame, because the flame sort of has the same beauty, elegance, and shape and confidence in which she has. And colors, everything comes together really, really well here. And it it feels like a very gypsy vibe to me, this image. I think this is a really, really beautiful standout image. So anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I mean the entire mood of the image, because it was taken in blue R, that also played a huge role in terms of making it stand out. You know, the blue sky right behind and the fire lighting up. It's a beautiful image. Warm and cool tones, of course, make a picture stand out. So if you look at this entire collection all over again, you will actually stand and observe this image for a more bit of time, because it is a standout image. None of the images are shot in low light situation other than this one, so rightly picked up for the first time, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when Sammy says blue hour, that's the hour that comes. That's the time that comes right after golden hour. So there's golden hour right after sunset, and then blue hour starts to set in, and things get very blue. And it's another really nice time to make photographs. Lighting has a lot to do with creating atmosphere and storytelling within photography. There's someone who said that photography is painting with light. That was really interesting. So, we some this was another beautiful shot here too. Looks like it was picked up by a trilogy. The framing was just absolutely beautiful here, and I love the leading stair lines leading down to this girl who's got this sort of pose. Looks like she's kind of like holding her pants there, and maybe she's a bit shy, but and you see these. This looks like, I don't know if this is Mickey Mouse. It looks kind of like Mickey Mouse surfing or something, but you see this childhood these drapes, and they're just
Yeah.
part of this really rundown building and the colors and everything. And I think this really tells the story of environment that they're living in.
Yeah, it's like a theater setup for me. I mean, the way that colors have actually come in, the reds, the greens, and in fact, there's a tinge of blue as well. So it's an RGB composition, even without you noticing it. So I guess it's a very strong composition, and it feels that almost that you were there. You were there for a fair bit of time, because you have observed that probably such a composition was being made. You had waited for that particular little girl to come in, and probably at the last moment, probably the girl actually understood that picture was being taken and became a bit conscious, but still it is a very strong frame, and I really appreciate Alpha picking it up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, to be critical, I think something we talked about was um, these images where the aspect ratio is just really just a lot different than the others. And so, I know there's some collectors that they really don't mind different aspect ratios. Me and Sammy, on one hand, when it comes to documentary and street, like to keep aspect ratios to be cohesive throughout. I mean, now, while I don't think that this photographer by any means is amateur, I think they're great. But a lot of series that I do look at that has multiple aspect ratios just makes me think that they just weren't able to get it right in camera first, and so that they had to use cropping techniques in order to make that image compelling. And while I don't think that this is the case here, if I was to be critical at all, I do love that image, but and this this image here is kind of in the same panoramic way. Don't love this one as much because it's very distorted for me. Feels a bit distorted on fisheye aspect, where it looks like it's coming from almost, well, it's not the same house actually. I guess they all have these ventilation systems, but yeah, the only thing I had to really be critical was about that.
Yeah. This.
Sammy talked a bit about this one. I thought the lighting and color were really beautiful, but Sammy said that he felt this image was a bit static, and I do agree. You want to talk on that?
Yeah, I think, see, I mean, all if you look at the other images, the way that action is there, the way that expression is coming in, looks like this person was actually asked to stand like that, and that is showing through the expression of that little girl. And generally little girls, they are, if you allow them to actually play around, they will make some beautiful pictures, while there's a bit of red and green in the background being lit by light, and the blues pretty much in the foreground. What I felt is that if you had probably waited in that area, just let the girl play around, walk around in her own, little world, probably you would have made a better environmental portrait. So probably, probably one of the weakest shots in the entire collection, which is actually otherwise very strong. Yeah.
Sure. And so I think that that's kind of like a lesson in patience and waiting, and not just trying to take the good photograph, but waiting. Just you see something, you see light like that, you see beautiful color like that, and the child there. waiting to see what's going to happen next, and shooting more and more and more frames. I know my favorite photographer, Alex Webb, he'd find a location and he'd shoot an entire roll of film, and then he'd pick from that shot. So maybe just a lesson in patience. But otherwise, I think this is a really, really beautiful series. And so, what are some of the questions that they had on there?
Yeah, I'll tell you. So the first part we have given you the suggestions. The second part was about the reduction or increment in the number of pictures or pieces. I definitely do not feel that you should increase. Definitely not. Maybe you can remove the one that we have told you right now. But other than that, I think, in my opinion, everything else goes in place. You do not have to do too much of a change in there.
Hmm. Yeah, I tend to agree. So, was there any other questions?
No.
All right, great. I think we can move on to the next collection. I think it's actually a really, really good collection, and I think it's poised to eventually sell. So,
Yeah.
price looks good for this quality work.
Yeah.
So we move on to Colors of the Streets. Read a little bit about this one. So we can relate to photographs here. So children are undoubtedly the most innocent. We see that these children whom I photographed in economically disadvantaged neighborhoods are happy, full of love, despite their difficult conditions. It's a great feeling to support these children and spend time with them. I love capturing color, light, and shadow with children and street animals. Um, the spark in their eyes and their unrequited unrequited pure love increased my joy and passion for living. And this is by Nursan Kosar. Is that how you say that? I think so.
I guess so.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, 7 photographs published in the section, editions of one of one. And so, actually, I would like to let you lead on this one. Actually,
All right.
yeah, I'd let you lead on this one because you've had some interesting things to say about this.
Yes. So, first of all, must say that this is, if you look at purely from the point of view of light and shadow play, it's exemplary. There's no doubt in that. That so much of light and shadow is in there, and the picture right now on the screen is the best of the lot because it's very candid. The way that the shadow has actually shaped in, there's a little, animal in there as well, and there's a leading, the shadow is actually leading you to a little boy that's sitting right beside the red wall, which is a very beautiful scene, to be honest. And it's so well composed, it's so, there's not a single portion of the frame that you will feel that is not occupied or not is not adding to the storyline. And that is the reason why probably this is the image that has been collected of the entire collection. And if you see the reds, and whenever there's reds and greens in terms of light, it really makes a big impact, and that is why this image really stands out for me. And look at the expression of the little girl. The little girl is clutching onto the, dad's arms, which actually showcases that it was, it happened very naturally, and you actually hit the shutter at the right time, right? Let's look at the other pictures in
Yeah,
this
I just
collection.
wanted to point out too that
Yeah.
even the child is wearing green and red, which is
Yeah.
great. And I think like this shot, even on its own, is a beautiful photograph. And the fact that you're able to add these multiple layers and create an image like this is something that I really strive for more often. This is a really good photograph. And Leslie Spurlock collected that. She's a really great photographer.
Absolutely. All right, let's then talk about the other pictures, right? So, first of all, let's just go to this. I think she submitted this under the category street, right? So the category street, as we call, is all about candidness, right? The candid moments. And if you actually Google the definition of street photography, that's the only definition that you will find, that it's candid photography. So when you look at this purely from a street photography point of view, you can understand that you had probably asked this little kid to actually stand there with the shadow, or the shadow being showcased in form of the light shadow that appears in the particular picture. So what is slightly bothering me is, if you had probably showcased this under documentary, maybe this would have still worked. Even this image, the way that this particular person, you generally do not people do not wear these masks and sit uh, on the streets just like that. So perhaps it was a planned shot, that is all right, but maybe it's not right to call it street. That was the only observation. Other than that, the composition is very nice. You know where to place the subject pretty well, so that it stands out. The entire light falls on that white portion to accentuate it just a bit. But I felt that this particular frame is also a bit static. The person is just sitting with the hands on the other hands there. There's nothing happening on the left hand side, on the right hand side. So in my opinion, it's a bit static, and that is probably the reason I personally did not like it. Let's talk about the first image, which is okay. Yeah, the first image. Yeah. So this is a very well timed image for sure. But then I could not probably understand, both Mikey and we discussed this, and we could not understand that the fitment of this image in this entire collection. That whether it is a one of one, whether it is actually making a storyline, which I am not being able to gather, because both the persons, the shadow of both these two people, are looking in the same direction. So ideally, if you had probably thought of this person, of this boy, as a devil, so maybe I could have actually looked for some sort of a leading line towards maybe threatening that girl's existence or something like that. But I could not find a story out of it. That means I could not relate to it as a street photograph, right? That is one observation about this photograph. Now, if we look at the fourth photograph from the top, the fourth one, yeah. Now, looking at the description, I mean, I and Mikey are completely analyzing these pictures as people who have never been there, just to look at the description and now to read it, right? So your description eventually points out that probably this is this particular series was shot in an area which was economically disadvantaged, right? That is what is being showcased. Now, if I look at very with a completely unbiased point of view, just looking at the dressing sense or the way that this girl is actually moving through the lanes, I'm not talking about the composition here, which is a bit weak in my opinion, but I do not think the narrative actually matches. Whether it's disadvantaged is purely in terms of the text that I'm seeing. I'm not seeing any sort of reflection in this image or a composition in itself, which I feel is in itself a bit weak. That's the reason why I don't think probably the write-up would need a bit of a change, or you might need to replace this with somebody which actually, that picture that actually resonates with the write-up that you have written, right? Even the other one, Mike, the one that you actually showed before this.
Yes. And
Yes.
so
And
this
this
one I
one
thought could, yeah,
was
go
better.
ahead.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It was better because of the simple fact that the shadow was well placed, the shadow of this person, plus the shadow of whatever, probably an extended portion of the architecture, because it looks like it's pretty coherent. The shadows are actually merging with each other. It's just touching each other, which feels that the almost part of the entire frame is filled up. So I like this frame as a frame itself. But still, my concerns with respect to this being a pure street photograph remains. My question as a viewer, right?
Yeah, the question is whether or not it's a posed image or not. Yeah, so, and where what, and really why we bring that up is because the image we think that it's the strongest image clearly does not feel
Yeah.
like it's posed at all, and it feels very street. It feels very well thought out, very well seen. And so some of the other ones, just while they are beautiful images, it's hard to fit them in the same. I would say this is the same skill level, the same vision and seeing as this image here. And so, and also, I think when you take a composition like this, and you can make it work, but it's very hard when the person in the frame is actually looking in the direction that's at the edge of the frame rather than in the opposite direction. And it could be done because like there's no rules that are meant to be broken, but I don't know if that's a time where that actually worked out in the favor of the photographer. What are and I agree with a lot of what you said. I don't want to go back and say some of the same things. But what are some of the questions that the photographer here has?
Um, so I think it's pretty much the same that we discussed, that whether um, while it's from the point of view of the entire collection description, do you think that there are photographs which do not fit the integrity of the collection? Exactly what we actually discussed. Mike, if you want to take that.
Yeah, and sure. And so some of the ones that we felt didn't fit the integrity of the collection were ones that we felt were posed. I'd probably say number one and number two for me, which were and also number three as well would be the ones that didn't fit it as well. Whereas I think some of these here. did fit. It's obvious that the photographer has a great understanding of shadows and color relationships, understands how colors work well together. I think we just want to see photographs like Streets Number Four, where
Yeah.
it was just it just feels like maybe we're patient with this, and so maybe
And
some of these
anticipation,
scenes, yeah,
anticipation that something like this can happen, that's a big attribute for a
yeah,
street photographer, that you understand, you anticipate that a moment like this can happen. Somebody with a red, wearing a red can actually barge into the figure. You can actually get a shadow as deep as this, and there would be a person with exactly the red color of the t-shirt and the green pant sitting there. It's a brilliant image. It's probably one of the best that I have seen so far in the NFT space, for sure.
it's great, and these are different from other shots that I've seen from Turkey also. So
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
definitely that. You definitely have a different eye than the other Turkish photographers that I've seen. So I'd
Yeah.
lean more in that direction. Um, Maybe study more photographs of people who are creating ones at this level. And I always recommend Alex Webb, the Suffering of Light. He does a lot of work like this and really nails that. So
Also, she
yeah,
had one more question, which I wanted to take up, was she doesn't only take street photographs, she takes documentary and abstract travel photography as well. So she is asking whether she can think about creating another collection, or she should build the collection after she has sold this out. So what I think, and I will also request Mikey to also share his opinion, is you can definitely have another collection. That's what I feel. Maybe in another platform like Sloika, you can try that, because you always, as a photographer, can show your diversity, right? Why would you only stick to your own only one genre of photography like street? If you have some really strong documentary photography, why don't you try another platform? Just try and market it more, and you never know, maybe somebody would be so impressed looking at the documentary work, the same person might just come and just grab all the street work as well. It has happened to me. I am the biggest example sitting right in front of you, when somebody picked up one of the pieces from my foundation, and the person liked my work so much that he came and he swept out my entire collection of my first set. You can definitely try and do something on documentary, but just try and select a different platform for it. Yeah.
absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think if you're gonna drop another series, then using another platform is a great idea to not oversaturate your market on this specific platform. And I think it's also a good idea to drop photographs that are not similar to this style of photographs. So if you go with your abstract ones or documentary, that's about a completely different type of thing. Then I think that's perfectly fine. I think your pricing is good. So yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. We can move on.
Yes.
Excellent. OpenSea keeps doing this not enough memory thing to me. All right, so Finding Beauty in Chaos by Emmanuel Seleshi. And so, when I first look at a collection, I see 45 items. I always think to myself, oh my God, that's a lot. And so, there's a lot of photographers that can do that if they've obsessively gone to one place over and over again, and to the point where they've probably done it for years, and they've been able to do it to the degree where they have full photographs that are really, really strong hidden and cohesive. Um, in the case of this series, I think we both agreed that while there are a lot of strong images in here, that we think that you can bring this from 45 actually down to like 20, because it seems as though there's just a lot of different stories happening here. And so, and there's just, there's a lot of beautiful images, right? So I'm waiting for some of these to load, but yeah, like this image, for instance, really stood out to me. Really gorgeous. Colors are just absolutely beautiful. The color relationships you have in this, the composition, that sky, that was really, really beautiful. We have a lot of pictures with, I would call them priests or so, and this is another from behind, which you're making these really interesting abstract, designs and compositions from behind. I think that work really well. And it seems like this series is for one, maybe three different series in one. And so looked at some of these shots in here, like even feel very fine art, like this blanket man shot felt very fine art. We had a discussion on Twitter the other day. I made a tweet about what is fine art, and a lot of people said you kind of just have a feeling when you see it. And this kind of felt fine art to me, but also just beautifully storytelling. So uh, there's a lot of successful images here. This would be another one for me, and then there's this weird sort of what's going on with OpenSea. This weird gap in pricing where
Yeah.
we're looking at 0.2 on some images that are really strong, and then I found an image
One
that's
one
actually one
Ethereum.
ETH. Yeah,
Yeah.
one Ethereum for this shot, which I'll be honest with you, I don't think it's the strongest image. It's very very dark, um, and I know low light shots are hard to get, but you have this low light shot for one ETH, and then really close by you have another low light shot that I actually think is better,
Yeah.
and it's valued three times less. So your pricing is very confusing, and that's probably really confusing to your collectors. And you have some good collectors in here. I mean, one to mention is like Twin Flames, which is Justin Avasano, who's like definitely the biggest leading person in the space for photography in the internet, Web3. So there's people here that definitely are interested in some of this work that you're doing. I just think that it hasn't all been collected because you just have a lot of different scenes and things like this. Like me and Sammy both talked about, like this shot just doesn't make sense to this collection at all. I mean, I feel like this can almost be like in Chicago or something, like and the black and white tonality kind of seems off from the rest of the collection. Um, we were critical on some of the compositions in some of these, like Over the Mirror, where Sammy said, that if the woman had been, walking a little bit further and she wasn't completely overlapped with the mirror here, I think that if we could see the man's face a little bit more and you didn't blow out your highlights here, they're completely blown out and can't be recovered, that maybe you could have metered this shot better. So it's like there's a lot of shots in here that we think that can come out, and you've done. Why don't I let you talk for a little bit, Sammy? Actually.
Yeah. So what Mikey has more or less covered each and every aspect. Just that what I wanted to say is, because you have such strong body of work inside the entire area that you're talking about, why don't you make separate collections out of it? Like for example, this image, right? This image is a beautiful piece in itself, but if you look at the entire collection, I don't think this at all fits into the scheme of things, especially when you have those beautiful images of the priests, right? So my suggestion was, why didn't you think about making like one complete collection on the priest itself, the way that they pray, the way that their culture is actually shaping up, what are the rituals that they do before and after. Like for example, that splash of water was a fantastic image. So what I feel is that there are three collections, in my opinion, three segregated different collections that are right now residing in this 45 image collection, and that is probably the reason why it's not really resonating, because I think what we have been talking about is one image must lead to the other. Like for example, this is a daily life shot, right? A daily life shot, and it's a beautiful image, right? It's an environmental shot where hats are being made. You can see that there are two people working inside, but just put it in close proximity to a priest shot, the one that Mikey showed right at the upfront, that those beautiful back compositions were showing. So my opinion to everybody here is that when you are actually putting out certain collections, think about whether you can actually form sub themes inside it. Like for me, what I understood is that this person has been like so exhaustively covering this place that probably the person could not cull out the entire set of the images to put together. So curation is also a big aspect, big area of it. uh, um, is somebody writing something?
I was just
Dennis?
checking the chat.
Okay, okay. No
But
worries. No, because I
yeah,
know Dennis might need a bit of translation, so I guess somebody from the community is helping her to understand the conversation. So yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's
just
probably the
kind of
discussion.
cool to check in on the chat. So 1 o'clock. What time did we start? Yeah, 1 o'clock. So yeah. solicit support the featured artist by retweeting the collection. That's great. It's a great. I like that. Yeah, retweet the collections of these of the artists. You know, they have enough courage to come up here and have their work critiqued. So let's do the right thing as a community and retweet. So yeah, there's a you know I you know there could be a lot of talk about here, right? Because there's so many images, but I don't think that we need to talk about that much anymore because
Yeah.
I think we really hit it. Like you know,
Michael,
there's
let's show the picture with that with those flames. I think the pollution. Yeah. Right.
yeah, love this
Fabulous,
image.
fabulous image. But again, how do you relate to it vis-a-vis the priest images, right? So that's the entire idea of it. You can actually form sub collections out of this entire set that we have shown, and believe me, those sub collections are really gonna do well. I can see that happening right in front of my eyes.
Yeah, it's a really talented photographer, right? And looks like a really hardworking. But you know, there's so many of these scenes that are so similar, like this scene here, and then you know then this scene here, where there's just these huge gatherings. Just like you know, pick the ones that are the most stand out. You know, because there's so many, so that you know those maybe they have their own collection, but yeah, it's clear to me that this photographer is a really talented photographer, probably been shooting for a really long time, just doesn't have a good idea of curation and how to curate. And so curation is a completely separate art. And so hopefully that some of our feedbacks can help, but this is many stories within one. And if you like to message me individually and get some help and show me some stuff that you'd want to put into a collection that you think would be cohesive in a collection of maybe 10 images, then I would really like to help with that. But other than that, what did they have? They didn't have any questions, and that's totally fine because we had a ton to talk about, and so would like to move on to the next collection.
Yeah. And in case, Narsin, you want to ask something, I think you can.
Oh, he's
Uh,
here.
yeah. You can actually ask that question to Serhat. Serhat can unmute yourself. You can ask that question on behalf of her if you want to ask something. No, not for this person, but the other person whose collection we actually reviewed before this.
Colors?
Yes, Serhat.
Mike, Semih, hello.
Hey, which collection am I looking at here?
If you have any question to Nurshan or want to talk anything about her collection with him, then with her, I can help to her.
Oh, is
Yeah,
this about color of the streets?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, if the artist, you know, yeah, I mean, if the artist isn't able to understand English and you want to translate to them shortly, like what we've went over, and they have questions, then that's fine.
Okay. I talk with her. I called her and I translate your feedback to her. There is no problem about that. If you have any additional question,
sure.
and just want to say anything to her, then I can help her about that issue.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have anything, Sammy? I appreciate you, Serhat. You're always translating for us. I don't have anything else though. So whatever you translated over to her, we don't have any questions. But if she had questions, then that would be something different.
Yeah, no, nothing from my side as well. In case she wants to ask something, Serhat, probably after the next collection, you can actually unmute yourself and ask us that. Not an issue.
Okay. Also, Deniz is waiting. When you are talking about her collection, I can help her too. And maybe to Zehra, another Turkish photographer, Zehra. If they need help, I am here.
Awesome.
Okay, great. And so, you know, if any of those artists have to leave early, and one of these other artists are not here, like is this artist here? Because if not, then we'll talk about Deniz's photographs now. The black and white shadow in Istanbul. Do you know if they're here, Sammy?
I don't see that person as of now. I think Fatih is the name. I don't see that person here, so I think we can probably move to the other person.
So
Yeah.
Okay, so then let's talk about Deniz now. So there's Life on the Street, and this is by Deniz. Kalechi? Kalechi? I don't know if I said that right. Try my best. All right, so there's 9 photographs. There's life on the street. 4 are color and 5 are black and white. Each represent different lives. Some are rich, some are poor, some are religious, some are children, some are old, some are young. If you can understand how that person feels when you look at my street photos and I reflect that emotion to you, then I have succeeded. Okay, so it looks like we're going to be looking at some people from different classes here. Um, so,
Yeah.
so when me and Sammy initially looked at the collection, there was a bunch of standout images to us, and they actually all happened to be color images. And I really liked a lot what Sammy had to say about this image here. So I'm going to let him take the floor on this one.
Yes. So, before even talking about this particular series, I must say that what happens when you actually look at images in thumbnails is certain images actually stand out, or maybe there's a bit of discomfort to the eye. I mean, I call it discomfort, but it's in a good sense, because you probably do not see compositions like these very often. And that was the first reaction when I saw this collection. I of course know Dennis because I've seen her work before, but probably this is the first time I took a deep dive, and I understood that her kind of work is actually quite strong, because she actually puts a lot of thought into this collection, into the all the images individually. So this is that image that makes the most impact to me. Why? There are multiple reasons. One is this particular setup and the person in that frame. It completes the story. It tells me about the person, what he does, what he thinks about, what is his status, and his choices. Very interesting choice is the wine bottle in his hand. You can understand that he actually stays on the street. There's a rugged sofa. There's those blankets in there. There's the grunginess in the background, means that he's from the slums area. But then the choice of wine bottle is very premium, which means that probably he dreams. And in fact, his get up, his the way that he's dressing up in a sporty attire means that he's not bogged down by his lifestyle. He actually is a dreamer, and probably the eyes looking upwards is also an indication that he or she is he's a dreamer. So that means that entire social aspect of that image plus that person's life has been very well summarized without any words. In fact, even if this picture had no description, I had enough reasons to buy it, because that is completing the story for me. And it's a standout image, probably one of the most strong documentary shots that I've seen in this platform. I'm so happy that I could actually talk about it. Yeah.
Thanks, Sammy. I think that's great. I love how you talked about the premium choice in wine and his clothing attire, him being a dreamer here. I don't think of anything else to really really say about that image. I think it's a great one as well. But that's a perfect description. And so I actually I really enjoyed this image here. Thought this was really beautifully done. And so actually I want to pull up an image first. Um, this image was actually purchased, but and we're looking at an interesting perspective and kid playing soccer. But this image here could be said, at least to me, uh, in a much stronger way through this image. And I think it's because I love the texture in the image. I think the wall is just absolutely beautiful. The colors that come from this, and you can see that what's hanging on the clothing line. It's like all sports clothes. So even though they live in this sort of rundown um, home, that sports is still a big part of their life. And so this image was way more impactful to me. You see him in the window here. It looks like he's almost wearing like an Adidas jumpsuit, and he's smiling with his sister. And this image to me is just really beautiful. And the standout images in the series for me were just color. I think you work really, really well um, with color. And so we looked at another one in color, and um, I asked Sammy. I said, "So this one's interesting because I hadn't read the artist statement yet." And I'm like, "Well, how does this fit into the series?" And then Sammy said, well, it talks about how it's a kind of a juxtaposition in some of these images between the rich and the poor." And so, and I really loved this images. So I was trying to figure out how. I said, "Oh, wow! So this really does fit." And this is just beautifully framed. I mean, this man, what he's wearing looks like he's definitely wearing, you know, premium clothing, and he has his hat on and he has nice spectacles, and he's standing right in the middle of these beautiful modern buildings that just go off and disappear into this fog, and the birds are flying by. This is just everything happening here is just really beautiful. So love that image. And then Sammy had some great stuff to say about this one, about the cycle of life, and I'd love for him to talk about that.
Yeah. So, see, I mean, when I saw this for the first time, probably it did not strike me, and probably that's also a good indication that maybe, you know, something that is happening in the background makes you think and look at the image for more than like 5-10 seconds. And when I looked at it, I do not know whether whether Dennis also had the same thought process in mind, but for me, it does showcase the various stages of life. You know, look at the background, the graffiti in the background. There's a little bird, you know, on the hand of the little girl. Then slowly but surely it graduates and it flies away. And now look at the, you know, hair texture, the way that hair is flowing in there. So the direction of the flow is similar to the direction of the birds being flowing, and also the person is also graduating in age, which means that it's like a very good transition from one age to the other. And also maybe talks about freedom too, because that's also flying. So I think overall this image is very well thought of, and probably it's, for me, it's an impossible composition, because getting that graffiti first and getting that hair to be pointing exactly in the same direction as the flow of the birds, it's genius. For me, this is like another level of photograph being, or storytelling being showcased in this image for sure. And that's the reason why Mikey was also saying that your color work is so fantastic. You know, why did you even think about including black and white images in this collection? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so, you know, we look at some of the images in black and white. Well, first of all, the title in this one was really hard for me to understand, fear, because I wasn't really getting it from that image. But also, this image just um, it doesn't feel like it fits. And you know, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we didn't talk about this before. It's like, so the collection is sort of about these people that live within these different classes and stuff. And so, you know, these guys have some rundown clothes and stuff here, but they also seems like they also are fishermen. Um, and yet, but they do. This guy does have a pretty nice looking, like, look like a purebred dog, and so it's hard for me to understand that here. And I didn't realize at first, but I think this is the reflection in the water, and this side of the image here is actually the sharp part, which is the non-reflection, which is an interesting choice. But I don't exactly I'm not exactly pulling a story from this image like I am from the other ones. Do you feel the same about that? Can you pull a story from this image, Sam?
Yeah, even I am facing a bit of a difficulty in terms of understanding why is it called fear. Maybe, I mean, now that I look at it in details, maybe the direction of pointing is towards the dog and the cat in this image. Maybe the cat is getting a bit, looking at the dog's reaction, it's probably a bit frightened. Maybe that is the reason why she wrote fear. But I don't see a correlation between the two human figures in this picture that resonates with the reaction of the two animals here. Maybe that's the reason why I could not relate to it much. So yeah, that's the take.
Yeah. And then so, oops, open C. They need a tab where you can just go up and press on the keyboard right to left, and you can just go in and out of the picture. So this stuff has to come soon. This is how you know we're early. So and then, so there's a picture like this in black and white here. This kid looks like he's from actually more rich family. At least from what I'm seeing, he's wearing a blazer. He's got some nice shiny pants on. He's got a fresh haircut. And while a good image, I don't find it to be a great image like the some of the color ones. So I feel the same way. I think if you can go into your archives and pull out some more good color stuff and replace the black and white with color, which, well, you can't replace it because there's two sold.
Yeah.
And so, and let's say, look at Unknown Collector bought this one, which, you know, I'm sorry, Unknown Collector, but I don't understand how this photo fits into the series. It really doesn't make sense to fit into the series for me. While it's an interesting image, it's out of place for me. And so, yeah, I'm going to stand by my word that I do definitely feel that the color images outweigh the black and white. But at the same time, Leslie Spurlock, unknown collector, they bought the black and white images. So me and Sammy are on the same page about this. Maybe other people are not. So and we're not the final voice of reason here. So the collectors bought these, and so
Mike,
yeah,
can I ask something on behalf of Deniz?
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
I think one of her question was about that issue, but this collection consists of black and white and color photos, and two of those black and white photos were sold, but the colorful photos are unsold. Maybe
Perfect.
she can
Take out the color ones.
yes, take up the colorful ones
I was
for a
thinking.
new collection.
Yes, please. I was thinking about that while you were asking the question. I was thinking to myself, wow, the colors aren't sold. So I would pull those 4 colors, create a new series about it, because those ones feel like they're about the juxtaposition almost between the rich and the poor, or whatever, however they call class there. Like where these ones don't, the ones that sold don't. And so, these are a bit more, I don't know, I guess a little bit more surreal to me. Like maybe, this bridge here represents like the net. This kid's using like the bridge as the soccer net, which is really interesting, which brings it into the more of a realm of like, auto surreal. And so this one's a little bit more dark. So maybe you could create a collection like that out of black and white images, but the color images, I think that's a great idea. That's what I mean. And the color images have a lot more favorites on them. And I don't know if that means anything, but they have a lot more favorites on them than the two collected.
What I feel is that one or two colored images are foundation material here, especially the one that we talked about. It's so strong that I feel that it actually can be sold at a high one price if Dennis thinks about foundation. I mean, that's like my personal choice of a very strong story. This one and the first one that we talked about, the rich, this one. It's a strong storyline, and if she can write about it the way that I perceive this image, I think this can actually fetch a good price for her. It's a very iconic image in my opinion. So yeah, that's a good choice actually. I mean, the question was nice. You answered it perfectly. She can think about adding more black and white and removing the colored images and putting it together in a different series altogether.
Yeah, so you're saying, I mean, I know Foundation doesn't have the singles one images anymore, but you're saying like putting this series on Foundation so that you could sell it at a higher price because Foundation sells at a higher price?
Kind of. I mean, that's like my personal choice because I found this to be very strong. She can definitely choose any other platform as well, but I feel that probably point two, in my opinion, because I am a very passionate street photographer and I see such strong stories flowing out, probably I feel it's a bit underpriced. That's my opinion about this.
I mean, I'd probably lean towards Sloika at that point. Just because I think Sloika's up and coming for real. I think that a lot of people's work and collections has gone very stagnant on Foundation. I'm not just saying that because it's been my own. That's the consensus I've gotten from a lot of people, and I feel like Sloika has been improving on a lot of things. And I do think you could price these at like 0.3, some of these on there, and maybe have good luck there too. Either way, I'd pull the color ones, and I'd separate these collections from the black and white to the color.
Yeah.
But we got to move on probably though.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Only 5 in. We picked 14 artists today, so.
By the way, Fatih is here, so we can talk about this collection. Yeah, black and white.
Okay, great. Black and white and shadow and light, Istanbul. Okay, and so, so me and Sammy spent 2 hours before this just talking over the collections, and so we have a good understanding on how we both feel about collections. And there's some standout images in this collection. This image really stood out to me. This abstract walker. Love how the light is like the leading line into this businessman, and then the top of the frame is like a reflection. It looks like there's a hand here, and Sammy was telling me that there's what is this called again? This type of is a museum or something?
No, this is some sort of a placard, some sort of a hoarding.
placard.
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting to me. And so, we looked over the series, and we really liked this shot as well. This stairway to heaven shot. We thought this had an interesting story and some atmosphere with smoke going through here. Um, so a few images too. Really, I really personally like this grain fisher shot. The composition is really great, and I think that as a photographer, you're you are actually able to really see in an interesting way through these panoramic photos. This one, Ghost or Immortal Esteban is not, Istanbul is not, and we don't see a lot of street collections in panoramic. But we're both on the same lines that like it feels like there's multiple collections here because like this fisherman shot, this kid here with the gun choosing the dark side, which I think is a really cool image. I think it's a little black, a little not dark in the sense of evil dark, but a little black. That you have a lot of different aspect ratios going on here, um, and some of the scenes don't make sense to the rest. Like this shot here of this man in the street. We don't really know how that relates to those men that are fishing off of the pier, or how that relates to like ghosts or immortal Istanbul is not. So what we talked about is like we found some really interesting stuff in some of your panoramas and the way you see in panoramic that maybe you can go a route of panoramic street series. So you want to talk a little bit about some of these, Sam?
No, I think you covered everything. Your opinion or your thought about having like a pure panoramic street is a very good idea because that could be a first mover in this. I have not seen something like this before. But yeah, I mean, wanted to talk about one image specifically. That was, if you could go back, that backlit image. Yeah, the right, the last one. No, not that one. The fifth one from the same page. Yeah. Is somebody unmuted? Uh, Maybe.
Okay, that should be good now, right?
Yeah, it's good. So this image, this is why it stands out because of the right hand side, that little portion of smoke coming in and the backlit portion of these characters. By the way, I'm getting a bit of a, I do not know whether you guys are also facing this, but I get a bit of issue with the audio, right? I think this,
I hear you very good right now.
but I find some sort of a disturbance in the background. Anyway, I'll continue. No worries. The moving factor here for me is that in spite of being such a busy scene, so many people in the same scenario, it has still stood out because of the backlit condition of the hair and the right hand portion of the screen where you can see that smoke is coming in. And in any portion of an image, I don't see any part of the image that is absolutely doesn't have a human character to it. In fact, the portion that is slightly overexposed, that upper portion of it, the sky, that also adds to that entire drama of it. That is the reason why I really love this image, probably one of my most favorites here. But I completely agree with what Mike has said here, that it can become like one of a kind panoramic street that we might not have seen in the NFT space. So you can definitely consider doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can even turn this shot into panoramic. I mean, the bottom of the frame is not the most compelling, so this can turn into some panoramic type of shot here. It's just that we have a lot of different types of images going on in this. It's like we have sort of minimalism going on between these two. We have this like almost street or documentary shot of men fishing. And this kid here is holding a gun, and it's like a darker shot. You have just these older gentlemen just walking through the streets. A lot of it, like it's an interesting shot with the mannequins too. It's just that a lot of these they just don't fit in the same story, and so like sometimes you have to look at your collection as I sometimes like to look and think about collections as like major motion picture, like a film. And would some of these scenes like fit into the same film? And so for me, it's a bit hard to see that. And so, but
Yeah, so my opinion here is, Mike, because the name of the collection is black and white and shadow and light, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually plug in anything that is black and white. I mean, that's probably
exactly.
the mistake I did. I have learned it from Mike only, so I'm very proud of it that I am actually sitting with my mentor here, at least in the NFT space. My first collection was all about light. Okay, and Mike is said that no, your collection can have God rays in it, but that doesn't mean that you can put everything in it. And I am completely saying the same things right now. Just because it is black and white and it has light in it, that doesn't mean that you can put in everything. So very simply put, Mike pointed out that this image right in the middle of the screen with the fisherman in it. No, not that one. Just beneath. Huh. It's a beautiful image. Probably if you print it out, if you actually exhibit it in one of your dining halls, it would look phenomenal. Especially the treatment of it. I think the grains have been added by default. I mean, that was probably intentionally done, and it is a beautiful scene. Look at that. The drama in the sky in the backdrop. Those skylines showing the way that these those fishing nets, the rods are actually creating those geometry alongside. It's a beautiful image, but you know what, because of the collection not looking very cohesive in terms of your aspect ratio, maybe it might not get that traction that it deserves. That's the reason why we
Yes,
are
it gets lost. It gets lost. Right? That beautiful image gets lost because of there's so much else going on around it, and I think that's a big thing that hurts when wanting being collectible, right? So don't have any collectors so far, and you have a great price point too. And so I think you need to break some of these up, and like I looked at this shop too, and I see what you're going here, trying to make something backlit, but it just didn't work for me. The movement is a little bit strange in the shot, and if you're gonna looking to get a good silhouette, it's probably best to not like have another man coming out the side of him. And so, dancing against the sun, get the idea, but I don't think that you're really able to execute and on that one. But I do think you're able to execute it on Man in the Crowd and Abstract Walker and Ghost of more. There's just an all favorite. Some of these where I think it's like you did a really good job, and I really liked it. I really do like the shot that's choosing the dark side. It's really dark. The kid, I'm sure he's holding a toy gun, but it's just
it's a
really strange.
very strong
It's
shot, to be honest.
it
It
just
has a
makes
deeper
no
meaning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just makes no sense within this collection, and it's like what Sammy went to go back to what Sammy said, like just because everything is monochrome or black and white doesn't mean that it tells the same story. And while it's easy to try while it's easy and it fools a lot of people, because when things are seen in black and white, it generally has that sort of uh, that vintage feel and that aspect of the nostalgia that reminds you of when television was black and white and stuff. Doesn't mean that it all fits into the same story. And so I think you have a few different stories here. I think we pointed out some of the stuff that we think is the strongest, and a route that you could go with a panoramic type street photography that hasn't been done. And so if you have any questions, then we'd love to answer that.
Yeah, because you did not ask any question in the form. So, Fatih, I know you are here. In case you want to unmute yourself and just ask anything, you can go ahead. Mm, doesn't seem
And
like he has a question. Okay.
if not, that's fine too. And we can move on to the next series. I think you know how to make some great images. I think you just have an issue with curation here, and too many images currently that fit outside the box. So
Okay.
we'll move on to Red in Anatolia, which we both really love this series, and Sammy actually owns one of the images here. So I'll just let Sammy lead on this one then.
Yeah, sure. So see, first of all, what we look at, when we have like a documentary series like this, which has been taken in one particular area or one particular region or one particular spot is what we look at is a diversity, right? Inside a very close spot, if you can bring out different perspectives, if you can use different lenses to good effect, if you can actually make compelling images, I think that's where it stands out. So right now, the picture on the screen, it is definitely taken on a wide angle lens. Probably the person was standing on a lifted platform, and that's the reason why she could actually take this shot, which is a very beautiful shot because there are leading lines, there's red in there. It's actually showcasing the process of how the chilies are maybe either it's dried or it is actually displayed for the others, etc., but it actually showcases an activity. So this is like a very good example of wide angle lens being used. Then if you look at the one that I picked, right, the one right at the end, you will see that this is probably shot at a focal length of around 24 or something like that, 24 or 18, because it doesn't have any sort of any distortion in it. It is a beautiful environmental shot where you can again see the action, and I really love the angle because the way that colors are coming in, it's almost looking like a gamut. It's like an exhibition of red color, and there's that little human being that's absolutely in the middle of the scheme of things, which it actually is like a beautiful showcase of an environmental portrait for me. It actually works as an environmental portrait. It doesn't need to be focusing on a person in itself. If it shows that what environment that person works with, and an activity being showcased, I think it's very beautiful. I really like this image, and I thought that it was quite in my range, and hence I grabbed it before anybody else could have. So, and if we come back to that collection, if you see that the other portrait that's there right beside it, right, yeah, this is like an example of use of a prime lens, proper prime lens being used, or maybe a higher f value could have also been used, because it is important to showcase the person who's behind all these activities, that too in the middle of the scheme of things, the middle of red. Now look at the way that this person is biting this entire scarf, and it's a very good, a very popular way, because I have shot inside these chili fields or vegetable fields. I see that people do it, and that means irrespective of the geographies, certain behavioral patterns, certain iconic ways of dealing with, or rather looking at certain places, still remains constant. And I could relate to this picture as well. It's a beautiful, again, another form of environmental portrait where the subject takes more part of the screen. And when we look back, I just wanted to talk about one particular image, because the other ones are beautiful in itself. The one that, yeah, exactly, that one. Well, this is an example that even in a place where you have limited options to work with in terms of creativity, you can still make a strong story out of it. Definitely it was shot from outside, and there was like a curtain that's behind it, and the person was doing something other than that. But it is a very dreamy image to me. Why is it dreamy? It is purely because of the fact that you understand the ones who work inside such difficult conditions, especially in chili fields, or fields that because of the flavor of the chili, etc., it actually hurts your eyes at times, because I know from Bengal or from India, they do not even have the proper clothing to actually do these things. So this image, in essential, for me, is a dreamy image again, because of the surrealism in it. It showcases probably the future of this person, the dream of the person to actually work to emerge out of these sort of areas, which is they're downtrodden, they're not best of facilities being available to them. They have to work really hard during the peak hours of the day under the beating sun, but still there's a future, there's a dream that they will overcome, they will emerge as victorious out of this entire scheme of things. So this image summarizes the entire series for me. And I have seen so many documentary work. I have seen many documentary work, from tea gardens to chili fields, to maybe harvesting paddy fields, etc., etc. I have worked on them as well, but I have not seen a dreamy composition like this being pushed into a series which is so strong in itself. So I would say it's a brilliant work. And in fact, if we talk about the other image where the triangle composition is being made, where the little kids are actually working.
Yeah, hold on. I clicked the wrong one. Yeah, I love this triangle composition.
Yeah. Just look at this, the way that, first of all, the point to be noted here is that everything is very candid here, right? Nobody has been asked to do anything. The person in front is working on the vegetables. The two kids are just walking, or maybe looking at the person who's working there, and maybe trying to take their attention or something like that. But Look at the color of the t-shirt of that little child. It's green, which stands out in the crowd, and that's the fulcrum of that entire triangle, or the vertex as we call it. So it's a beautiful street composition even inside a documentary setup, which really makes a lot of difference to me. So overall, if I have to summarize this collection, it is a beautiful way of diversification, creativity inside a closed space, and it's so cohesive because of the color of the entire, color composition and the way she has perceived it. So much of different shots in that entire series, sticking to one theme of it. Yeah.
And the strength of the kid, the strength of the green he's wearing in this image makes the image really really strong. Like any other color, had he been wearing white, still be a good image, but it just makes it even that much better. It almost brings him to being like, and the man in the front's like the main subject, but he's definitely co-leading in this. Like, and love the expression on him, and his look like almost maybe even his little younger brother following along too. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful scene. All of all of these work so beautiful together. Such a great series, and seeing them even shooting top down perspectives is great too. Love the joy on this girl's face. Love just the clothing attire that she's wearing. It's so beautiful. And I want to read about this. So this is a pureed tomato. Really cool. So they make a pureed tomato on these. Love it. I think part of having a really good documentary series is perspectives, having different perspectives, top down perspectives, head on perspectives, wide angles, portraits. This shot you pointed out here, shot through this is actually a really intelligent way to tell a story, and not giving us all of the information, and keeping a lot of it open to our own imagination. I don't think I really need to say much more about this. You really went off on talking about this collection. You're very passionate about it.
Absolutely, and I wanted to say that this is an example of a collection that maybe if somebody buys one piece, he or she would be totally focused towards purchasing another one, because it completes a story. Every image will build to that story, and that's why I know even I was I was actually I had this feeling that why don't I collect another one. So because everything fits so well to each other. So this is like a learning for all of us. In fact, for me, when I'm actually curating my collection, why don't I make such images that makes me feel like the collector will feel like I will pick one more. Why just one? Maybe two or three.
and they cost 0.1.
Yeah.
Like there's 0.1. So I'd be very surprised if some of these didn't actually sell today. And I'd be very surprised if this collection didn't sell. It's really a beautiful collection. Do they have any questions? I mean, if they have questions, I don't even know that we can help with the answers, because I don't think we can help this series any more than it's already great. I think there's a perfect amount of images. I think the price is too fair. Yeah, I don't know. What was the questions?
If I think probably Dilek wants to translate the question in case you have one. I'll go to the sheet as of now. I don't think there's any specific question that we have not answered. I think we have answered all of them.
Sure.
Yeah. Dilek, do you want to go?
Who's that?
Dilek, probably, because she used to translate. That's what she told me on DM. Dilek, in case she has a question, she can come back to me and to us in a later stage. You can answer that as well. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Everyday Frames, is the artist here? If not, then maybe we can talk about artist is here first.
Makbul.
It's Sarah M.
I can't see the person as of now.
Yeah, they're here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, great. So then, let's talk about the collection now. This says Everyday Frames is a collection of street photographs that aim to showcase the beauty and visual interest that exists in everyday life around us. Each moment is individual and complete in and of itself. Each frame shows something different, yet relatable, something we've all seen before, but perhaps haven't noticed in a certain way. There are no fancy edits or colorful neon lights in this collection. Instead, these are people and spaces around me, which I try to find a visual design in order. The intended collection size for Everyday Frame is 25, which will be one of ones. And so there's 25 images. Looks like they dropped them all at the same time. There's actually 5 owners. I'm just gonna do like a quick look through these, get an idea of what the collection is about exactly. And so, a couple that we've actually had already talked about. And so, um, napping on the commute. So we've opened up this, and we've talked about a little bit about what we think the narrative might be in this, because napping on the commute, I first said I don't really, it takes a lot for me to look to find out what's actually going on here. I actually thought that this was an arm holding a bag, and then Sammy said, well, it could be the guy's head in a hat, which I think is probably more likely that is holding there. And so we went through and analyzed some of the images here. And let's see. We thought that compositionally in a lot of the images that the artist could have been a bit more patient, right? So we looked at this image here, smoke break, right? We have some interesting elements of color and such, but the main subjects, which we would think to be, the people that are, on the smoke break here, is that we don't really have much to go off of, and maybe that's the artist's intent, is to leave information that's left up to the imagination. But I and Sammy both talked about that we probably would have stepped a bit to the side and took the picture in a sense where we could see a little bit what's going on more with the actual subject in the shot.
Yeah.
And I looked down here at some of the ones that were sold and thought that this, so compositionally, so I think this is a really beautiful reflection here. Like, I would actually consider this to be like a fine art shot had it been framed a little bit different. Like, I'm not completely on board with the framing of this, because I don't actually understand why we need all of this white of the windowsill and all of this right side of the image that kind of takes away from the fact that I really just want to be looking at like what's going on in this reflective, beautiful world of color and flower. So I personally would have cropped this different, or I would have actually shot this different. So we were actually quite critical on a lot of the choices and compositions and cropping and stuff within the series here. So do you want to talk a little bit about this, since you did choose this one, Sammy?
Yeah. So in general, what I thought is that probably the photographer is, definitely they know how to use the camera for sure, but maybe a bit of patience is needed, because a lot of pictures would have actually been much better had they waited a bit. For example, if you look at the image number 14, I mean the where the 14 number is actually showcased. Just go down the lower row. No, just up, just go up,
What
up.
is it? What's the name of
14.
it?
It's existing chaos. The 14, the number 14. I mean, the fourth one from the lower row. The lower row.
Oh,
Look,
is
14,
it
14.
okay?
Just above this. Yeah,
Is
just
this
above
it?
this.
Above this one? Okay.
Now, yeah,
Oh, 14. Oh,
yeah,
the number
14.
14. Oh, I'm
Number
looking for the
14.
number 14 image. All right, all
No,
right.
no, no. No, sorry about that. So, what I was saying is that see, 14 is a leading word, right? In street photography, what we actually look at are these words, these numbers, the use of light and shade. Maybe some sort of a connection with 14 would have been needed, and it would have happened. Believe me, when I see these numbers, stacked up, in one or the other, maybe if you had waited, something with respect to derivatives of 1 or 4 would have appeared. But what happened here instead is there's a person who's just inconsequentially opening the door and getting out. So nothing with respect to connection with the numbers that being showcased here, it is not adding any story to it. Plus, if you look at the right hand side of the image, that little portion of white, because human eye actually goes towards a brighter portion of an image, eventually my eyesight goes towards that area, right? So if you are cropping an image, make sure that you crop out that brighter area if it's not adding any value to it. So for me, it's, could have been a good image, but probably because of the lack of patience, it did not happen. But I will talk about a good image as well. The one that was just beneath that.
Below it, yes, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. This is a good image. If you look at the gesture, the way that these two hands are being held, looks like there's a bit of there's something going on between these two, right? And you eventually, as a viewer, you will think about it. So the essence of any photograph or any street photograph is that you have to make a viewer wait on it for more than 2 seconds. I mean, 2 second rule actually applies for any street photograph. So when I saw this in the thumbnail, the first thing that attracted me is that why is the hand twisted? Right, because of the jacket, I could see that the sleeves are curled. That means the hand was twisted. And then I saw that the lady was, probably using the wrong hand. So if you observe it correctly, the left hand and the left hand are holding each other. So there's a story to it. There's a very unique trait to it, which makes me think about it. But this is not happening in the other parts of the images. None of the other images are making me think about it. So what I really feel is that it can, both I and Mike, both of us discuss that probably you understand light properly, you understand post processing too. So all of these are well post processed. There's no doubt in that. It is slightly desaturated in color. That's what I see. But and the tones are also consistent. But what is it's lacking is that maybe this image could work. Maybe it's better than probably some of the others that we saw. But still, it is not strong enough for me, being a collector as well, to actually invest maybe a bit of Ethereum on it. That's my entire idea. I feel slowly but surely you should definitely cull it down to maybe, how many pictures are right now it's there in the collection.
Hold on. It's 25.
25. So I think it can be a collection of 15, because cutting it down to 10 might be difficult. But I can definitely see, like for example, this image, the one beside the graffiti image, there is no human element in it. Yeah, yeah. It's just a forest and a tone being applied to it, and a morning star. So I would have rather waited for at least a cycle to come here, or maybe a person walking through this lane to actually complete it, and maybe add a bit of flair to this image, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's about it from my side. Yeah, nothing else.
Sure. And so, an image like this as well, it's like there's a lot of distracting elements in this image for me. I mean, like, it's just the man waiting for the bus is nice. It's just, these three square stickers, the lines going through him, just graffiti going all through his head. I just don't, I understand like the thought process of like photographing like a man in solitude waiting for all this to happen. It's just that the distraction of all this other stuff really takes away from that. And I just think, moving around a bit and looking at different perspectives and not just going for that single first like snapshot that you're looking for, and working more along the lines of something like this where it's like a more it's more thought out. There's less distractions. There's more to feel within the image. Um, is to generally, to work on shooting more patiently, and for some people that takes buying a film camera and maybe shooting medium format, and you knowing that every photograph you take is going to cost you $1, and that will train you to be able to slow down in some of these images, because I had a big problem at first in photography where it didn't cost anything, so I was just like, oh, let me just shoot a bunch of photos on my digital camera because it doesn't cost anything, and I'm just filling up a card. But with maturity and over time, you tend to really slow down and think, I'd rather wait for that compelling moment and shoot when something in your stomach feels something in your gut. It's not always about for me lining up perfect compositions and stuff. I think sometimes my brain and eyes already know how to line up that composition, and it's just something that I need as a feeling before I press that shutter button down. And so when I'm looking through the viewfinder, I try not to press the shutter button down unless I like the final. I try to I look through the, if this makes any sense to anyone, it's the weird thing that I do. I'm looking through the viewfinder and I'm imagining the image as an image already minted somewhere, maybe even by another artist. And I'm thinking, if I was to see this image, would I enjoy it? And so I won't press the shutter button down unless I feel that way. And sometimes it just takes a gut feeling for me to press the shutter button down. So I think it's a huge lesson in patience in a lot of these, and moving around a lot, because some photographs from one perspective, especially when I'm shooting with just one individual model, might just be boring. And then I just move a little bit and it's like, oh my God, what just happened? Because this is now a phenomenal photograph with depth and emotion and all of that. And, that's when I press the shutter button down. So I think just, a lesson in patience here would be really great. Is there any questions from the artist?
Yeah, but by the way, whatever you said was really inspiring. I took a lot of lessons from what you just said. Probably you did not mention it during our call, but really appreciate it. Yeah, I'll just go to the question, which is an interesting one. So let's see what's your response to that. The artist says that I started the collection with range pricing, with higher pricing of a number of images, but over the time I have made it more exclusive in number of images it contains, and also increased the price because I felt that I did not value my work enough before. Would you say that the pricing is fair, or should I adopt a different strategy?
It's always hard to talk about somebody else's pricing and somebody else's value of their own work. But I mean, I personally think that, like, if your work became stagnant, the idea of raising the price, I don't know how that would help your work move. So, while I try to discuss a lot about how price is like one of the least deciding factors, and like quality of work and the idea behind the story and your participation within the community, and what people know you for, and your integrity within the space. All of that, I think, means more than pricing. But in this case, if your series became stagnant and then you decided to raise your price because you felt you didn't value yourself, that doesn't make much sense to me. Actually, I would have probably stayed where my price was at.
All right. Okay, let's move on then to the next collection.
Sure. I love the name of this, Melody of Anonymity. That's fantastic. So I'll try to read this real quick. Ever since I was a kid, I've been immensely fond of certain elements, inclusive of varied factors and phenomena. My fascination towards intense colors, diverse festivals, and beautiful skies have been heavily influenced by growing up in India. The feeling of being brushed on the face with a gush of cold wind on a foggy winter morning is as uh, I'm sorry, is as momentous as being rushed to the side of a narrow street by daily commuters swiftly passing through on their bicycles. We come across thousands of individuals in our lifetime, and somehow, without knowing all of their stories, they become part of ours. My Genesis collection reflects all the moments that I have connected while growing up. I've realized there is a melody in being undiscovered. Hence, in this collection, I celebrate the extraordinary common people who I wish I could have known more about. Each image clicked between the years 2016 and 2021 reflects a story without revealing the subject's identity in some way or the other. So it's about not revealing the subject's identity, but also celebrating those who have, I guess, who are unknown or have been overlooked. And I mean, this collection is just absolutely stunning. Just like looking at it right off the bat, it's when you look at people and they tell you how long they've shot the collection, 2016 to 21. It's 5 years of work, right? And so this is what happens with 5 years of dedicated work to a subject. Like, there's a difference between looking at a photographic series that that you obviously know, and you see when somebody puts a series out, like, wow, this person definitely shot all these photos in one day, and now they're trying to sell them as NFTs, and they think that they're worth a certain amount of money. And then you have a person like this that's shot for 5 years straight, fairly prices their work starting at 0.1, And if some of these don't sell today, then I don't know what. Yeah, but these are absolutely phenomenal, and you can tell because just by looking at it from afar how gorgeous these images. I mean, let's open up this image that we were walking up before that we both broke down so well, and I'd love for you to break down this image for us, Sammy.
Yes, so if you see this image very closely, you will see that the person has actually taken a lot of effort in terms of first approaching the scene towards getting really up close and personal with the subject, which is like a very important part of street photography. Getting close to a dog, one, you have to be very, you have to ensure that you're not scared of dogs first, and in case you are, you have to overcome that fear. So as a street photographer, you have to actually get out of your a lot of things that you probably would not like to have done. She has done it. She has actually taken that initiative of coming very close to the dog, making it like a bigger, it looks like a bigger than life sort of a subject here. And if you look at the background, if you look at the right hand side of the image, one is you can understand it's an early morning shot because there's a sun, there's mist in there, so you can understand it's an early morning shot. That also means the photographer actually took that pain of waking up early and going out there. So see, just by looking at these two or three things, you can take an understanding that the photographer is a hardworking person, right? You got that feeling first. Now let's look at the layers, behind. Now, in a scenario like this, where so much is happening in the backdrop, there's a lot of people probably playing in the backdrop with inside the mist. There are two or three people standing right beside, right behind the scene. There's another dog that's there, and there are people performing yoga out there. So I think it's a very difficult composition to even think about it without considering the merging of those images, of those subjects rather. And if you look at it closely, just that little, that person did not have a control about that little van that is there stationed there. Other than that, the human elements in this figure, there's not a single merging or not a single element that is actually overlapping with each other, which means that the person has also moved here and there. They have actually squatted a lot. They have taken the camera here and there to actually make the composition a really strong one. And there's so many things happening in the single frame. It's not static, it's a static image, but you will understand that there's a lot of motion happening in the backdrop too. So it means that it is an image right now in your screen that is probably what, 0.1 or 0.15. But now that you understand, if you analyze a picture and you understand the effort that has gone in, you will definitely like to purchase it. That's exactly what happened. Somebody has purchased this image. And look at that, the title of it, Man's Best Friend and Yoga, right? So there's a lot of things to learn from these collections, the way that it is curated, the way the descriptions are written. Even by looking at the title as well, somebody who loves dogs would actually purchase it, right? So that's what I wanted to say, and it's a very good demonstration of how layering works in street photography. Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful moment. You know that the photographer in this situation had to wait a really long time to get this photograph and had to snap a lot of frames to get this photograph, to have these three people not overlapping this man, which doesn't overlap this, which this man, and this dog's tail is just curled in this perfect curl that's the same size as the sun. Now, I'm not saying that's intentional. That's just some things that I see, like just the dog's snout kind of frames what's happening here. The person off to the side is not overlapping the dog and just coming to the back. It's just a beautifully, and we could say this about so many pictures in this collection. I just thought to use that one as an example there. But wow, just look at this shot. Everyday Evils. Just freaking beautiful. Like the colors, unbelievable. And you said, Sammy, you said that this line coming by was from this is like
This long exposure traffic
a long
frame.
exposure traffic. That's wild. This photo is so good. I just I can't. I mean, and what's really interesting to me is a photo like this could be a very cliche and a very like uh, it could turn out really bad. I think for a lot of photographers that would try to take a shot like this because it could feel really cheesy. It could feel real posed. This just doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like it looks like the dude was wearing the mask because it's probably part of something that he sells at his store, and he's looking off to the side. And this photographer just created a magical moment where you have just this reddish ghostly fog coming through that is just, and it's coming from a car, and it's just absolutely wild how he just emerges from this. This is very surreal and very beautiful image. It takes a lot of skill and thought to make something like that. And look at a image like this, flaming dawn. Just look at this man's, how his head's down. He seems so solemn. You have the fire here. The flame is split in half by this. By this tree that looks like it has collapsed into this building. This woman's just right in the light with her red garments, just walking through. The light in the background, beautiful architecture on the building. Just even the part that's just draping over the top here with these leaves that are coming down. Just little things like that, in little elements, can just add so much. This is just such a beautifully dimensional image. I really love it. Can say so much about so many of these. The curation on this is just fantastic. This person really took a lot of time to really pick their best the best works. And Sammy talked about how this is a religious shot, a religion that unites, and this is cricket that they're playing. You want to talk about this shot, Sammy?
Yeah, so this is first of all the title, that religion that unites the ones who know that cricket is the most popular sport in India. And since it talks about cricket, and it's again early in the morning in Maidan, that's one of like a very popular spot to shoot images. And this building that you're seeing, almost we it's very funnily called the middle finger of Calcutta, which is emerging out of the fog, is the 42. And the way that the entire frame is being composed with the 42 exactly in the middle of the frame, and the person is bowling, and the one who's batting probably missed the ball. It's a beautiful moment, right? So what we look at is whether this entire narrative completes the story in itself. And here, even a person missing a ball shows that everything in life is not perfect. Probably if I were in that spot, I would have waited for either there could have been a wicket that was probably broken, or maybe the person is hitting a six. But I appreciate this moment because it talks about that it's a very normal life moment, and people can miss deliveries while they're actually batting. So I feel because of the anonymous part of it, again, these two people, the faces are not visible, but they represent a religion, a cult in India, that is the love for cricket, and that's why this image is a standout image in the entire collection.
Absolutely, beautifully said. I love that. Everything in life is not perfect. Like, while maybe we would have waited until he actually hit the ball, you see the ball behind here and it's missed. And it's great, so great. So we could sit here and praise this collection, but what's the questions from the artist? Wow, look at this shot.
I think Ananya is here, so if she can speak, I will read out the question for sure. But in case she has some questions, she can also ask. She asks, since my Genesis collection broadly portrays people in anonymity, I would like to know how important do you think it is for a street image to have faces of your subjects revealed? It's a very good question. Mike, do you want to take it?
I was actually just reading from the AMA live chat on that one. Can you just say it quickly again, the question, and I'll answer it?
So just to summarize it, what she's asking is that since the Genesis collection talks about anonymity, do you think how important do you think is a street image to have faces of the subjects revealed?
Well, in your case, clearly it's not, because we've obviously went over how beautiful the collection is. So maybe that's something that I should work on, because I've been going out and shooting street and on the ferry and subways and stuff like that, and there's a lot of people wearing masks, and so I tend to think, geez, it's so much harder now because of the mask. But if we're not showing faces and we can still make beautiful, compelling images like this, then then that means it could be done. And so you've clearly done it. So I don't think that, I don't think it applies. I think that you're fine.
Yeah, great answer. And there's one more question that she has asked is, black and white images are really thought-provoking. In terms of street photography, we do see a lot of photographers choosing black and white. Do you think that the portrayal of too many colors on street images because of the portrayal of too many colors in street images, the interpretation of the story can get clouded in the viewer's perspective.
No, not when someone knows how to intelligently shoot with color and placement. And I think that they're doing a good job at that. So, yeah, no, I I might lose some fans for saying this, but I actually think that black and white photography is easier than color photography, and so there's a lot of black and white photographers out there, and I do both. A lot of black and white photographers out there say that it's harder. I think I think it's easier. I think there's less elements that you have to pay attention to. When I shoot in black and white, it's for me at least, it seems a lot easier because I'm paying more attention to geometry, shapes, and light and shadow. But that's not to say in color photography that I don't have to pay attention to light, shadow, geometry, shapes, and then also color relationships that have to tie into all that as well.
All right. Okay. Ananya, if you want to ask something, if you have the access to unmuting yourself, you can ask. Else, you can ask at the end of the session.
Well, I
Hey,
don't.
hi.
Hi.
I'm sorry. Hi,
I don't
Mike.
know. Hi. I don't know if I answered the question on that last one. Kind of went on a rant. What was your direct question about that? Does color, it basically does color distract? I don't think so. Not when you know what you're doing. I think you really know what you're doing.
Right. Yeah, you did answer it perfectly, so there's no issue with that. And thank you so much for the insights that you and Sammy both delivered on this. And these words will probably stick as motivation for the upcoming work that I would dedicatedly, do in future. So thank you so much for inspiring. Not only for my collection, I've been hearing so much, feedbacks about the other collections. It's really insightful, this session. Really enjoying it. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being here, and thank you for submitting this work. Love talking about it. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Then let's move on to the next one.
Sure. Oh. Next question, Faceless Street. And so, all right. Let's read quickly. Kevin started his journey with photography way back 2016 when he met new friends that introduced him to street photography. He has started capturing daily lives of the street. He encountered different people who would confront him on why is he taking photo of their face. And with that, Kevin came up with the thought of why not just cover or hide their faces. And so this is another one about anonymity. Faceless NFT collection of street photographs that showcase juxtaposition and shadow play. Kevin aims. I don't know if I exactly like how you're speaking of yourself in what is that, third person rather you speak as yourself. Kevin aims to show humor with his street photos, and all of them were unstaged when he really waits for the right time to capture this deciding moment. I think decisive moment is better than deciding moment, but that works either way. These are taken to the streets of the Philippines. That shows that is a busy street life. There's beauty that we can create. Okay, Kevin, cool. And so, we took a look through some of these images, and we had ones that we thought were standout as far as the direction that you're going with the faceless. And so let's look at a couple of those. So, thought this one was really clever. I mean, first of all, I don't really see that many orange cats, especially sticking their head into an orange pipe separated by a yellow pipe. So it's a really interesting and weird frame, which makes me question a lot of things. It's just a cool, really cool image to look at. So I thought that this one was successful. Your prices are really cheap, by the way, 0.07 for a 1 of 1. If they're a 1 of 1, if you've written that they're 1 of 1, we'll take a look on one of the other ones that we thought were successful. Edition 1 of 1. So if you guys want a 1 of 1 for 0.07, it's a way to get that. So here's another one here we talked about. where we didn't really know whether or not the person was in transition of actually putting on their shirt or if they're just walking around like that. You want to
But
talk a little bit,
I
Sam?
just observed something here. I mean, just
Yeah.
now, I did not observe this before, but if you look closely, you will see a face inside in that red portion. Just look at that, that little mouth,
You do.
that the kitten,
Yeah.
and
Looks
those
like
two
looks
eyes.
like eyes and a
Yeah,
nose.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I see a face here right now, so that makes this photograph an interesting one right now for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Interesting. Yeah.
syncs with the theme as well. It is faceless, but still it has a face. So a good photograph. Yeah. In case you noticed it yourself, Kevin.
Yeah. I mean, as far as like composition goes, like I don't know that I would have included like this left side with
Yeah.
with these bars and stuff. I think it kind of takes away. I think it looked cleaner if it's just like the child and the app in the street going forward there. So we're taking a look at a couple ones now, like that we thought were successful, and so this is another one here. Oh, Leslie Spurlock, she's everywhere, buying all the NFTs, all the undervalued NFTs. Okay, and so we thought that this one was really successful because you have like two elements going on, both faceless. Like you have the silhouetted faceless, actually three elements. Well, wait, maybe this is actually the shadow of her. So three elements, and she's walking by, and really good colors, contrast, really interesting. And so, I'd like to talk maybe about some of the ones that
I think the
actually
last one. Yeah.
this was I think this was my favorite one actually, and this is because it's not just a silhouette, which we're going to get into because a lot of your stuff is silhouetted. This one's not just a silhouette, but we can actually see a portion of him. And there's also a lot of beautiful things going on here as far as like geometry, color relationships, like the splitting of the frame right down the center into two frames and really showing dimension within the photograph. Thought this was a really beautiful one. Sammy felt the same way on that. And so, now I'd like to get a little bit more critical, right? And talk about the ones that we didn't think worked as well. And a lot of those had to do with ones that were faceless that were, just silhouetted. And so, and like you say, like, all silhouettes for the most part are going to be, pretty much faceless, right? And so I think you are doing some more intelligent things to the point where you don't you don't need to just find these silhouettes, which I think is much easier to do than to find silhouettes within compositions that are dimensional and have geometry and good color. And so, we found a couple of them to feel a little bit forced, like, this faceless one felt a bit forced. Um, this one here I talked about, and so the sign says, drug abuse has no excuse, and then this guy's faceless because of a balloon. But maybe it'd be more clever had this sign been about clowns or something. So that maybe someone else can relate like a story from this to this, but it's very hard for me to like find like an interesting juxtaposition between these two. And so, any images that you wanted to talk about, Sam?
No, I think you covered almost all of these activities. Just one small input to everybody is that, street photography is because you see a lot of faceless compositions there, like this one. What would have probably happened, I would have probably liked, is just to wait. And I mean, you have to work this angle, to be honest. It's not an easy angle to actually capture. In case you have to see another person's face in it, you have to either shift your own position or the camera's position in there. Just that, having one mirror in there, it doesn't really make sense. It could have been a street photograph for sure. There are images like these in the that we have seen on Instagram or any other platform, but maybe you, as your own value proposition, I think you can do something very different from each other. So let's not restrict ourselves towards only the very conventional ways of looking at street photography, right? So you can actually experiment a lot. You can actually go out there. You can actually even stay in your own room and do street photography, just to break that notion that people have that you have to actually step out of your homes to do street photography. Nothing like it. Street photography is nothing but candid photography. So even sitting in your own drawing room with light coming in, maybe your mom actually doing some daily course, you can actually make some good street photographs inside, and people have done it in the lockdown period. Just be a bit creative, just think out of the box, and if needed, please do not get probably inspired by a lot of similar looking photographs that we see out there, because people, when collectors actually purchase or look at a lot of collections, they will see that these 2 or 3 images might look very similar to each other. Just wanted to put that across. Yeah.
Perfect. Questions from the artist, if they're in the audience or if they have written down questions.
Yeah, I'll just read out the question that Kevin had written down. Was is the price of the collection right? Is it too high, or should I lower it?
It's not too high.
Yeah, it's not too high. The other question is the number of photos in the collection too many? Should I delete some more pictures? So
Yeah, I mean, I would delete some of the silhouette ones. There's just so many. Like, there's just so many silhouetted ones. It's like, I don't know. I like the ones that are just, just that you were able to actually be more clever with. So yeah, I'd probably break this down from like 16 to 10.
okay. Kevin, you're there in the audience. You want to ask something?
Hello?
Yes, Kevin.
Yeah, I don't have any questions. I think everything's answered. And yeah, I just want to say thank you, Samia and Mike. Those inputs, really appreciate it. Yeah.
Awesome. So, I'm interested into seeing, like, if you have an Instagram or something like that, you can send me a DM. I'd love to see like other work that you have that, maybe can tie in if you're going to remove some of these. And I would work on just finding more of the compelling moments that, kind of like we pointed out. And like with an image like this, like, maybe waiting for something to happen in the mirror here, and maybe for that to happen, maybe you have to move to the left, or maybe you have to move to the right. I know street photography is tough, because then, now this guy's looking at, like, what are you what are you doing here? But sometimes you just have to ignore that and act like you're taking a picture of the bike and not him, and wait for something else to happen. Maybe somebody has to walk by in a rooster costume or something, or anything can happen, right? It's just a waiting game. So excited to see more of your work in the future. And thanks for being here.
All right. Let's move on to the next one.
All right. Living in the beauty of colors. If life is a painting, it is painted with colors of energy, peace, love, joy, or sadness. In this collection, I'd like to bring your attention to the people and their lives in the colorful environment, while we do not notice the beauty of colors around us. Basically, lighting, composition, and color make a photograph stand out. I use colors here to tell the story of the people and places by capturing their moments and senses of the places. Each photo in this collection has a beautiful story behind it and will take you places you've never been. Feel the scenery you've never seen and meet the people you've never known. Edition 1 of 1. Photographer is Zay Yarlin. Okay. And, initial thoughts when I opened this up and the submissions, I was like, "Oh, this is really, really beautiful. Lots of beautiful color, lots of interesting shapes, lots of interesting compositions." Looked like the photographer revisited a lot of these places, spent some good time on it, and so I was really impressed by the collection. I think this was the one I probably opened up first, kind of caught my eye. Really, really, really love this. I don't think reflections work in every shot, but I think this one's a really good one, where the reflection really allows it to just feel like this beauty, just to like fill the frame. And I love she's just holding on to these yellow fabrics, and her just gaze out into into the direction that's just outwards. Really beautiful shots, lots of leading lines, and I just noticed it looks like she's sitting on a boat and coming through here to look on the fabrics. It's really really beautiful. What do you want to talk about in particular? I remember Sammy, you're talking about this one, this street night market shot, and how I think it's a really great shot. And Sammy brought up that he thinks it would be even better in long exposure, which could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it will add that dimension of a bit dynamism in that picture. It will be a bit more dynamic. Maybe it will actually add more colors to it, because we have seen, if you remember Ananya's shot about that long exposure slow shutter, maybe those red colored t-shirts would have made some more colors in it. But overall, it's a very unique perspective. I think you have actually taken that pain of accessing a very high rise from which you actually took it. I know, because I have done that myself, unauthorized access into those buildings just to get a top shot. So I like it. It actually showcases the daily life. It actually completes the look for me. So yeah, I also like it. Yeah. And
Yeah,
just let's talk about the top view of that marketplace, which actually brings us to this shot. Yeah.
this one here.
Yeah. So now, when you look at these two images separately, probably the same impact would not have been perceived, right? But when I looked at these two simultaneously, one after the other, I realized that that image that you right now saw is like a zoom in version of this particular image, and now it makes sense. So initially I was thinking that how is this picture relevant to this entire collection, and now that I looked at it, I realized that no, I mean, it does make sense. So well thought of. That's what.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, really love all the colors that they're using. So I like this shot a lot too. This is just what is this round? A fisherman in his boat visits among the colorful circles of oyster and crab farms off the coast of Zaipu, in east of China. Edition 1 of 1. Gorgeous colors. Love the pinks on yellows and teal, and I just love the placement of the. I think really smart composition here. This shot. Um, yeah, little piece of the frame down here bothers me a little bit. It's probably this uh, little piece of weed or something. I don't think it would be against documentary to spot heal that and take that out, but maybe it's just me.
Yeah.
You talked about how you really like this the perspective on this shot, Sam.
Yeah. So see, I mean, I have shot a lot of such boat shots. I mean, of course, in a different scenario in Bengal, but here, purely because the way that the entire scene is unfolding, it almost looks like a theater to me. When if you have guys, if any of you have attended theaters, you would know that there's this red carpet and the red curtain that actually unveils, and the entire scene actually comes in front of you. This is almost like a carpet. That carpet is moving out, and that entire series is unfolding in front of us. And I do not know, probably it was shot from a passage right above this, but the colors in it, especially the reds, actually stand out to me. So because I've shot in such a scenario, I know that this is a very uncommon or a unique perspective, which actually is for me the opening shot of the entire series, which actually opens the curtain raiser sort of a shot. And if you look at the image closely, you will see that the way that the blues are actually being, yeah, I mean, just extracted out of it. It showcases that actually this entire series will be about colors. So as an introductory shot, I think you have established, since it's an establishing shot, as we call it in a photo series or a collection, it actually does showcase that what the viewer can actually experience once they go deep into the collection, and it doesn't disappoint. You set the tone correct, and I think when we actually looked at the oldest filter, I think this shot came first, right? And
Yeah,
I understand. Yeah, that's the reason
and
why.
look, and Sabod bought it, and,
Yeah.
and Sabod is big on. He really knows his photography style. That says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the
So
opening shot, and that is quite well established. And if
let's
you
see
talk about that one shot, Mike, the shot that we talked about,
which one.
this one, no, the one that the knitting of nets, the green one that you personally loved.
Oh,
Yeah,
this one. Yeah, I really like this shot a lot. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the
I
colors.
yeah, the flow of all of it, like just how it's flowing. It looks like they're in a sea of nets. Like it almost looks like they're in an ocean of netting. It's beautiful. The colors are so great, and that just the teamwork, the hands with these gloves where you just see just their finger coming out. This is another phenomenal shot. I think this whole series really just ties in really well together. Did the artists have any questions about how they, and the price is great too. Yeah, price is great. Somebody's somebody's reselling this for 3 ETH. So,
So yeah, the question is about the pricing only. So the artist writes that I have listed my collection with humble low prices as I wanted to introduce and contribute my works to the community. Because I'm still not well known out here. So do you think that I should have priced it slightly higher? So this is the question.
So should they have priced it higher? Well, I mean, I think that depends, right? So like, I think it depends on well, first factor I think depends on is like, well, how well is your name known within the community? Like, how much community have you built around your name? Like, how active are you? That there's going to be um, collectors that are interested in spending like a high amount of ETH on one of your pieces. So floor price at 0.1. Yeah, I think that you could have. I think that you could have sold these for more, actually. Like, I think that you could have sold these at 0.25, especially if it's like your first collection. So yeah, that would be my answer. But like, it's also, if you're a great photographer, which you are, and like you create like copious amounts of work and you're out there working hard on all the time, and you don't mind, selling out your series at like between 0.1 and 0.15, and just getting that that sellout recognition, then fine. But if this is like the best works you've ever created, and this is like your top stuff, then maybe you might want to consider selling for a little bit higher. But that's my reasoning.
All right. Is the artist here, by the way? I don't think he is. So if he's not there, I think we can move on to the next one.
Yep. So we have 3 left. So okay.
Yeah.
We're actually making decent time for 14 collections, but we did discuss a lot before this. So okay, usual becomes unusual. A collection of strange, unusual, fun, and witty candid photographs. Floor price 0.08, and the whole collection is 0.08, and I think that is a really low price. There's a lot of standout images here. I think there are a lot of clever moments here. This image is beautiful. I love this. Just the placement of this, like, so this is like what I was talking about, like about the photographer like having to move their angle a little bit, just to, I'm sure he had to move a bit so that this halo was just in like the hand of the angel here. Gorgeous. I don't even know what these are in the sky exactly, but it's fine. This is a very surreal
So I'll tell you what is this. So
image.
this is a shot inside a cubicle. So these are lights. Reflect. So this is shot from inside the glass.
Oh
Um,
yeah, it's a reflection.
yeah. So one thing that probably Kevin also did that a lot of you might not realize is to avoid his own reflection in the glass. Right. I know because I try to shoot a lot from my cubicle inside office, and I get all of these my own reflection in there. I see so many people walking from there. So I think it's a very well crafted shot because he has avoided all of these things. He has avoided his colleagues or maybe his friends walking from behind, and he has gotten that exact position of the light in that exact zone. So this is inside the glass. So it's a great
So
shot.
good. So good. Angels missed, but there's so many good shots in here. Let's take a look here. So this one's brilliant. Somebody picked this up. Oh, unknown collector. He buys a lot. What a brilliant shot. It just the placement of the guy with the wings coming out, and he's got this suit on looking like a Ghostbuster or something. Just really clever and beautiful timing on this image.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when the usual becomes unusual, right? So very well thought out in the collection. I did another one really interesting one was was
Yeah.
this here where this is like I guess a sculpture and he's walking into the clouds. Another beautifully placed and timed image. This one is actually bought by you. So when you want to talk about this, you should talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, my only point of buying this was the color of the jacket. Uh, because I work towards a lot on juxtapositions, and I know that the biggest challenge is to match the color of the graffiti or the wall art or the sticker with respect to the person's hands. So I think it took at least, I mean, my guess, I will ask Kevin once he unmutes himself, probably at least 5 to 6 hours or 4 to 5 hours for sure to get an exact person of the same dress color and walking in that same direction. Yes, Kevin, what was the time that you had to wait for this?
Um,
Oh, okay. I'm guessing it will be around 4 to 5 hours for sure. Else he wouldn't have definitely gotten, And one thing I must talk about Kevin here is what I received as a collectible for getting that, shot is the contact sheet. Okay. So what is a contact sheet essentially is to prove that whether this image was actually fabricated or staged or not. If you see this, I will probably showcase in the later half in case I get time, is the images that were before this and the images that were shot after this. He had actually sent me a screenshot of the contact sheet as a collectible after this. This is a great, I mean, I have not seen anybody do it in the past, so just wanted to highlight that, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So, some of the ones we looked at that we didn't think were that successful.
Yeah.
Here comes the new challenger. Bunch of people in pink. He's on the pink phone. Um, you know, I'm sure some people could try to make a story out of it. I didn't really, right off the bat, like I didn't really, wasn't really able to relate with this. Also, don't think it's like really that beautiful of a photo just to look at. Colors are like, greens on pinks and tough image for me. So, yeah, wasn't really crazy about that. We talked about this one
Yeah.
being a little obvious, right,
Yeah.
compared to some of his other work and not as strong. Uh, let's see. I don't even think we opened this one up. Let's check this out.
Yeah. It's
Oh
a
my
good one.
God.
It's a good
Oh
one.
wow. It's got to be two dogs, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, wow, that's a good one. All right. Did not look at that one, open that one up before. This one here, while clever because it looks like there's this tiny man coming out of this orange cone. Don't know how the rest of the composition and what's going on in the image ends up. And so, like, just because you find something to really work out and stand out and be clever doesn't mean that we should ignore everything else that's going on in the scene. But yeah, this is my opinion. Someone else might really like this and pick it up. I don't know. But there's a lot of other things going on that distracted me from that. Stop those moving giants is an interesting title. Really good titling.
And let's talk about this one last one. Yeah, this one. Correct.
How did I know? Talk about it.
So
Yeah.
this is, yeah, I mean, what Mike also mentioned is true, that in case somebody might not be into street photography, might not be able to relate to it, but that we know that it's a very very well thought about and very well anticipated image, because these sort of moments do not come very often, right? Somebody is carrying a coffee mug in her hand, and looks like the coffee is being spilled across three directions, and one is going towards a car. So I think it's a very well thought of. It's a proper image of a street photography mind. This is how a street photographer's mind works, and at the eye as well. The eye also coordinates, and actually the both conspire towards making images like these. So I think it's a very very well done image. It you had to really wait for a long time, and you had to actually think about the image in your mind first. And I always say this, your actual image is made in your mind. If you hit the shutter at the right moment, it is fine, it is great. If you miss one moment, you will get another moment in your life for sure. So just start thinking about, we all start thinking about and making those compositions in our mind first, and you will see the result. And maybe he has missed 200 moments, but he has got one decisive moment like this. So I personally love this picture as well. So yeah, great job there.
That's called hard work, getting out there, failing, and then failing better, and then failing better, and then failing better, and then nailing it. So
Yeah.
that's just what some people need to do that are within their collections. Is just maybe some people their collection's not good enough, or where it could be. It's just that they just haven't gone and revisited. Did Kevin have any questions? I think we really like your collection, Kevin. So,
Even you
there's
might
a
want
few.
to ask. Yeah. I'll read out the questions that he has written in case he wants to ask something else. He can go. He's asking this was originally 25 photos. I've reduced it to 15. Is it okay, or was the earlier count okay? I mean, what's your take on it? I think this is fine.
I mean, I wasn't able to see the other ones, so I only
Yeah.
know what it looks like as 15. So I can't even answer that. But um, I think that you really got something going on here. That's a lot of really clever stuff, and I think that your price is like, well, Leslie Spurlock bought that one again. There she is again. This girl's everywhere. And so, I think your price is like super fair. So I don't, I could see this collection selling out. This is interesting. I didn't open this one before going to Happy Land. Well, I mean, there's definitely better ones, but yeah. So I mean, if anything, if you were going to pull a couple, like I'd pull some of the more obvious. These first three right here, like just aren't to me as strong as like some of the other ones. Just personally, same thing with this cone, and maybe you have some stuff in your archives that you can replace it with, but yeah. Otherwise, yeah, great work. Great and fair price. Really fair. Probably too cheap.
Yeah. And he had one more question. He writes that I had a mistake of putting many collections at first, but each of them has sold photos already. Is there a better way to market those, or should I focus on this one first?
Oh, wow. So that's basically what's called like flooding your own market right there. And so since you have photos that are sold from both, you're just gonna have to pick different days in which you kind of showcase yourself. Um, maybe one day you do a Twitter post on some of your work that's unsold and tell us a little story about it from one collection. Maybe another day you just talk on a Twitter space about the other collection. So you kind of separate your showing, so it doesn't look like you're always like showing on your feed. Maybe that's like a good approach. But yeah, I think it's okay to have. I think it's okay to have multiple collections. I think it's especially okay if like they're on different platforms. I think it's even better. And if they're different subject matter, I think that's the best. To not have like one unusual stuff and then make another one. It's like then that wouldn't make sense to me. But yeah, I mean, I think you just gotta figure out how to um, sort of shill that work. If you want to, I hate using that word. Like I don't know, I hate using the word market too, but share that work with the community in different ways through spaces, discords, contests. Maybe even a good way I think is sometimes to just take one of your images from like maybe you wanted to take I don't know maybe this one I always go back to this one for some reason. Maybe you wanted to take an image like this and then make a post with just this image and then just talk about it. Maybe this description can be copy and pasted right Twitter or something, or you can say something a little bit more and just say, check out my collection if you're into unusual moments or something, stuff like that. Showcase other people, and more people will come and look at your works. That's all I got.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a very good suggestion for all that. In case there's some piece that probably is taking a bit of a time to get sold out, I think you can actually talk about the hardships, the pain that you actually went through while creating it. For this image that he was talking about, Mike, was probably the kind of weight that you actually had to do to get the entire scene first of all to get clarified, to clear all these unwanted characters from the frame, and then maybe adjust your angle, adjust your position to get that little ring on that top of that fairy or the engine. So I guess you can write about all of these things, and believe me, it works. It worked for me for my second image when I was actually participating in a thread. talking about the background story of an image. It actually works. People do read about it. So you can try this strategy. All right, Kevin, in case you want to ask anything. Yeah, yes, Mike. Yeah.
I don't have anything.
Okay. Kevin, you're here. In case you want to ask anything, you can unmute yourself. Else, we can move on to the next collection.
I just want to say thank you for the things that you have said, and it's really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Awesome. So look forward to see how you decide to go about, marketing your stuff, or if you decide to, make the collection smaller or whatnot, keep us updated. We really appreciate you submitting. We love looking at your images. They're really fun, really witty, clever, and I think exactly what you were going for here. So thanks again, and thanks for coming up.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Sir Samya.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. So next collection is Frame in Frame. Can you give me the name of the artist, please, Sam?
Name of the artist is. Sorry, I just lost track.
I love this work.
Yeah, you can proceed. I'll just tell you the name.
Sure. So this is a strip of sorrow. And so, well, what we found out, first of all, about these images was that these are, I guess you could call it composites. It's one photograph overlaid on top of another photograph. And, let me find out through the description before I go ahead and just say that.
So the name of the artist is Zera. Zera is here. So yeah.
Okay, Zara, awesome. Dozens of ferries operate. I shoot on ferries, so I love that. Operate every day in the Bosphorus, which connects the continents of Asia and Europe. Crossing one continent to the other has always been incredibly fun for me every time. While traveling on the ferry, we meet many people. We can see many different stories. I told these stories in a different way with reflections. These reflections are not always the type that we can see. They change depending on the season, time of day, light, and the way that the ferry sails. It changes so much that I couldn't even come close to the photos I wanted to take again. That's why these photos are unique and special. This project is a window that opens from the frame of my viewfinder to the frame of the boats. But didn't we read in one of the images that it was overlaid? I thought we did. Sam.
Yeah, we did. I think that was the last one, the skeleton image, the one that we actually read about the use of technique, Photoshop, I guess.
A photo was created combining two images. Person in the photo had window reflectors on his head while traveling from the Asian side to the European side. The historical peninsula was visible from the window. I tried to read his inner voice from the man's calm behavior. I took him. Okay, we don't have to read all of it, but yeah, okay. So this is like so one photo is taken. So it's not a double exposure with film,
Yeah.
but it's actually a layered image in Photoshop. Okay, and so that, I mean, that's that's fine. That's fine with me. But we talked about whether or not you would consider something like that street photography anymore, and you talked a little bit about that, Sandy. What was your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Yeah. So see, I mean, when it comes to the NFT space, we have seen that as a platform, it's very inclusive, which means that there's a lot of potential for digital art, right? And if you look at my collection, when that the one that got sold out, though it's not digital art because it's a collage, it's a very popular form of art that's called diptych. It got really good market, and it actually got a good response as well. But you know what? The reason why we actually picked this point up is because you submitted this collection under the category street. And in street, there are certain rules and regulations, and then one of them would be that you cannot, at least if you put in two images together, or if you actually even Photoshop and remove one small particle out of it, that doesn't remain as a street photograph itself. That actually goes beyond the purview of street photograph. So if you are calling it digital art, I think you have spelled it out very correctly, very transparently out here. I think it is fine. I mean, it actually would work with any collector because they would now know that this is like a work of digital art, which is absolutely okay. Now, my question towards Zera is because the other pictures do not actually talk about the techniques. So I am assuming, because I am looking at it from a third party point of view, is these are all reflections. These are not created in double exposure. So Zera is here. Zera, in case you want to say something, yeah. Zehra just unmuted yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zehra, did you understand the question?
I didn't understand.
Okay. So I'll just ask you the question once again. So see, one image, the one that we actually opened up just at the beginning of the session. I mean, when your collection was open, this one that is right now on your screen. You have clearly mentioned that this is like a layered image. Like there are two images involved in this, and you probably combined it in either Photoshop or any other, post-processing software, which is absolutely fine. I mean, we are completely on your same page. There's no harm in doing that. The question is for the other pictures, because you submitted the collection under street category, right? So the other pictures that are there, because you have not mentioned that explicitly, whether these are two images or these are just reflection of one, do we consider that as one image, or do we consider that as composite? What's your take on that?
Sorry, I don't speak English very well.
Okay.
Serhat oradaysa bana yardımcı olabilir mi veya bir başka arkadaşım?
Okay, I think in case
Samia.
Yes, please go ahead.
Samia, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I take your question again?
Yes, I'll just repeat the question again, so in case you can translate that. So
Please.
Yeah. So the question was, in this particular collection, which was submitted under the street category, we saw that there was one image, the image that you see on your screen, which is clearly mentioned in the description as it is a combination of two images layered together in either post-processing or maybe in other softwares that she has used. So ideally, though this is perfectly fine, I mean, we are completely okay because the NFT space has a lot of respect towards digital art, which is completely fine. I mean, she can definitely put it and market it. Our question is with respect to the other pictures in the collection, right? Which are there. So whether we consider those as composites ourselves, or are these, pure reflections or one single image? That is the question.
Okay, I got it. Zehra, şimdi ilk gösterdiği fotoğrafta şeyi belirtmişsin.
Evet.
Bir manipülasyon, yani manipülasyon demeyeyim de Photoshop'ta şey yaptığını, yani Photoshop veya artık başka ne teknik kullandıysan kompozit bir fotoğraf oluşturduğunu belirtmişsin. Hani ve yani bunu sokak fotoğrafı şey kategorisinde sunmuşsun.
Anladım.
Burada bunu belirtmişsin
Ama
diğerlerinde böyle bir açıklama yok. Öyle değil mi? Yani onu soruyorlar.
Evet,
Diğerlerini öğrenmek istiyor. Yani bunda açıklamışsın ne yaptığını ama diğerlerinde açıklamamışsın. Onlardır sadece yansıma mı yoksa onlarda da bir şey yaptın mı?
Hayır,
Dijital oynama.
onlar sadece yansımadan oluşuyor. Sadece o belirttiğimde Photoshop'la düzenleme yaptım. Bir tek o.
Tamam. Samia, she says that only the first one you showed was edited on Photoshop. It was a composite photo, as you said, but the remaining pieces are just reflections.
Right.
They are not edited.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And so let's just go on by saying that we really, really love and enjoy this collection. And so, pull up this one. We both really, really love this one, The Child Inside Me. What a fantastic reflection that's going on here, and just beautiful. And I don't know how they're getting these textures. Maybe it's from because you're on a ferry boat, and so I shoot a lot on a ferry boat, and there's sometimes the dirty windows, and so maybe you're getting the textures here from that. But it's really quite beautiful, and even there's a story in the background with this man, and he looks like he's on the opposite side of the ferry. I'm not sure how the reflection is working here, but it looks like he's off in his own solitude, looking out into his own thing. So it's a really really gorgeous double exposure that you've created here, or not double exposure, but a reflection that looks like a double exposure.
It's beautiful. I think it shows the inner child in the person, the inner child that is slowly but surely depleting out of us. That's my interpretation. Of course, it could be different from the artist. My idea, because that those the hair is actually flying in the air, which means that even though your age is flying off, still that inner kid in you still prospers, and that expression is pretty much there. So the entire execution of that, a shot, and the theme and the idea behind it, it makes me say that this is probably one of the best shots that we have reviewed right throughout the day today.
Beautiful, yeah, and a lot of really great ones here too. Um, I happen to really enjoy this one. Me and Sammy had like opposing views on this one. This one is called The Strip of Sorrow, and I thought this was really a beautiful shot here. Um, Sam was saying it was harder for him to be able to really see the expression on the girl, but just from this small piece here within her face, I feel it's a very somber expression, and I feel with her hair and the way that it's flowing down in her posture that it does fit this sort of feeling of being down or sorrow. Sammy, you said, is there a way that you think that this could have been displayed better through a reflection? Because I think it worked out pretty well, for me at least.
No, I mean, completely respect that. I don't know, because see, there are difficulties while shooting reflections because you have to avoid yourself too. So I can completely understand, maybe Zera was standing in a position, if she had moved left or right, maybe her portion of the camera might have been, intruding into the frame. And that's the reason probably she had to resort to this composition. But it's a very, very, very intrinsically composed and very thought provoking connection, because what is happening on the bridges side, either a construction is happening or people are fishing, and a person and a lady standing inside the room, it is bizarre. That would probably be the way to describe this image, which also is a very strong way of looking at street photographs. So I'm on the same page as Mike, you are, maybe because I now understand that perhaps she couldn't have done it better.
Yeah, so I enjoy the image. There's a lot of the another beautiful one, right? What I've been through.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, gosh, it looks like a television set on a backpack with a man that's going through his own thing. Just wavy hair.
Yeah.
It feels like the dirt, like the dirt and dust on this feels just, if that's just real dirt and dust from the reflection, it's just really amazing. It just
I mean,
feels
do you realize that this could be a selfie? I mean, I think this is a selfie. I think this is Sarah herself, if I'm not
like
wrong.
yeah, like I think it is because I see her nose here,
Yeah.
and it looks like she's looking into, I don't know, a viewfinder or something. I don't know how this was done, but it's fine with
Let me
me.
ask to her,
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Zehra, bu şey mi? Selfie mi? Yani kendini mi çektin burada? Yansıyan sen misin?
Evet
Bu
evet
fotoğrafı
benim
biraz
o. Burnumu
anlatırsan,
görmüşler.
biraz kafalar karıştı.
Evet evet benim o.
Yes, this is a selfie, and that you are seeing her.
Oh God, fantastic. So see, you can so cleverly include even yourself as a subject in a street photograph, and a selfie can also become a very strong composition. So fantastic work.
Really, really, really great. Really beautiful. Love that one. Oops. Um, yeah, they're all quite wonderful here. Train station. Look at
Yeah.
this. Wow. Another reflection shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are really, really surreal. Like, I don't normally see reflections that become like such surreal. I'd call them fine art actually. We were discussing what is fine art the other day, and I'd actually call this fine art. The color one feels a little out of place just in the collection though. I mean, I do really enjoy it. Maybe because it just won't work in black and white. Maybe that's just me being picky, but everything's black and white in the collection. This color, it feels a little out of place for me. I do enjoy it. What's interesting about this is it looks like this woman is sitting on a ferry boat because there's water behind it reflected, but yet it can also feel like she's in a restaurant as well. It's a very interesting shot. How do you feel about one of them being color and the rest being black and white, Sam?
Um, if you ask me, I would say everything would have been great if that was also in black and white. I would have probably converted that into black and white had I not gotten a shot to fill it. If I really had to go for like 6 images,
Same.
so I would have converted into black and white. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I just don't know how it converts over to black and white, and if it says the same thing that she wants it to say, and maybe we can translate and ask why we kept the one in color, and
Yeah.
did it just not work in black and white? Maybe because it's just a beautiful sunset. She didn't want it in black and white. I don't know.
Mm. Sarah, just one last question to Zera is why
Yes,
the choice
please.
of yeah. So why the choice of including one colored image in this otherwise very beautiful black and white set?
Okay. Zehra, tüm fotoğraflar siyah beyaz. Arada bir tane renkli kalmış. Bunun bir özel nedeni var mı? Onu soruyorlar.
Photoshop'tan getirmeyi unutmuşum onu. Şöyle, oradaki güneş ışığını sevmiştim. Siyah beyaz denedim. Evet, siyah beyaz olmasını çok istedim ama çok hoşuma gitmedi. O yüzden böyle bıraktım.
She says that she just liked the sunlight in that photo. She also converted to black and white, but she didn't like colored version. So she decided to put that photo such a way.
Okay. Yeah. So Mike, you were right.
Peki Serhat, sorabilir misin? Hani şu an değiştirmemi önerirler mi? Siyah
She
beyazı.
asks, do you suggest to change that photo to put the black and white version of that photo?
Well,
Well,
I mean,
yeah. What do we
I
say?
mean, maybe me and Sammy do, but like maybe there's like 100 people that don't, So it's hard to tell somebody to do something, and it's like, um, you know, for me, I'd like them to be all black and white. Just have I don't know. For me, I'd like them to be all black and white. I'm picky when it comes to that. I like all similar aspect ratios too. Like just that's the way that I like to visually see. I think it's cleaner when it's like that. I think it feels just generally more cohesive when it's like that. So um, I think there has to be like strict reasoning as to why you might only going to put one in there that's color and the rest that's not, because you could be telling the viewer that like the rest of these images just don't stand in color and they can't stand in color, so you had to make them black and white, but this one could stand in color, so it stays in color. I don't know, but if we're looking through it, I mean, it's the only one that has no favorites. I don't know if that means anything in life, but yeah, I don't know. For me, I like the shot. Um, but I think they should, if she could convert it into black and white and it could still hold it on its own, I would convert to black and white. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Zehra, yes, Sammy, go please.
No. I just
And I
said,
can translate.
yeah, you can.
Mike'ın biraz kafası karışık gibi. Hani tam şey yapamadı ama çevirirsen iyi olur gibi dedi. Hani diğerlerin hepsine de favorileri ekledi. Bu arada kaldı. Orada net bir şey de söyleyemedi açıkçası yani.
Anladım. Ben tekrardan bir gözden geçireceğim o zaman.
Ama yine de çevirirse iyi olur gibi de diyor.
Anladım. Çok teşekkür ederim yorumlar için.
Samya da herhalde konuşacak.
Tamam.
Semi, would you add something?
No. I'm completely fine. I'm on the same page as Mike. So it's a very personal choice. If Zera felt that this image actually would have stood out in the crowd, especially with the sunlight coming in, I think we respect that choice. So we leave that to the artist to take the final call.
Yes.
Zehra kişisel tercihine kalmış diyor. Hani tamam, fotoğraf böyle de güzel. Ama değiştirip değiştirmemek kişisel tercihi biraz. Sanatçıya orada saygı duymak lazım dedi.
Anladım. Çok teşekkür ederim. Thank you Mike and Samya.
Welcome.
Oh, you're so
Most
welcome. Thank you. We love your work.
And thank you so much.
All right, cool. We're going to move on to the next collection. This is the last collection. And so we're moving on to Pretend It Is a City. And this is a collection that's done really well. You get 12 owners here. Floor price is 0.1 and 2.2 ETH volume traded. And so, let's see why. And so I'm going to order these by, let's order it by oldest because I think oldest is how the artists want their work to be presented. Look how much better it looks when it's ordered by oldest. You don't have oldest orange just on top of each other like this, which really turns me off, I'll be quite honest. But when we have some separation between colors, we can create color relationships that are nice. It's not as jarring on my eye, all of this overpowering orange. So all right, so this collection is a lot of stuff sold here. We favorited some things. I should have favorited this. I really like this image. This is a great image. One last hug. So I want to say something right now. So a lot of the photographs in this series were shot vertically, and in this instance, I think it's a great shot vertically, and it's because like all of this up here is super interesting in the frame, and I love it, and I love this lovely moment going on here. And to be critical, there was a lot of stuff in this series that shot vertically that I was just like, you know, why do we need all of that above? Like, I think this is like one of the instances where it's like, I don't get why like half the frame has to be, why vertical was an option there, or even in this shot here, where although this one hasn't sold yet, I definitely think this is one of the weaker ones in the collection. I think there's a lot of strong work in here, though. I just wanted to bring up that um, the idea that some shots work very well vertically, and some I don't think do. This was an interesting shot we talked about. This is a disco party for one. Billy Din picked this up. He owns this. He's actually my favorite photographer right now in the space. Billy Din. He's really cool. So I respect his opinion. I also really enjoyed this image very much. Like this guy's expression. It's like he's at his own disco party. He's holding a cigarette. Really interesting image. Makes sense to me that shot vertically. And through some of these. It's really interesting and surreal. Cool shot here, right? Really cool. Love what's going on the screen here. And all of this that's happening. This shot really stood out to me a lot. I like this. It feels almost a little bit outside the collection, but it's really beautiful here. I love how looks like light, and it looks like it just crossed onto the child here, and it's a wonderful moment. Like even though you can't see the child's face, you can tell you see the joyful expression happening here, just from the side profile. It looks like his mother's taking a selfie of him here. It's very well seen. What are your idea on this collection as a whole? It's done really well as a collection so far, Sam. So this is a beautiful moment for me here too.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. I think this is probably one of the best pictures of the entire collection.
Yeah.
And I think it's out there. I mean, that's what probably her question was, that since this collection has been out in the market for a while, but yet to be sold out, so how can I actually market it better, or what changes can I actually bring to the collection? So um, I think what we discussed here is that there are a few pictures which actually look to be a bit repetitive, like the ones that you see on the top half of the screen right now. The two images just side by side, these are quite repetitive in our opinion, which might not appeal to a lot of collectors. The
They're
one
sold
over
though. they're sold though, so it's
yeah,
like
but
that's
yeah, that's how it is. It is, the opinion. We are dividing our opinion as well. But what I really like is the stay awake picture. That's what we wanted to talk about.
mm-hmm.
So somebody who has got such fantastic eye for a street. I mean, this is a pure street moment. Somebody is writing "stay awake," and then there's a person who's apparently sleeping there. Is a very good sign of somebody who's got vigilance. Quite uh, searches for moments on the streets, right? From that, we actually move on to the other picture, Mike, that we actually showed a few moments back, with the light coming up from the top. um just go down a bit. I think
Is it
it's
this?
no. Just the row below. Just the row below.
Oh yeah, the one this vertical that you're talking about?
Yeah. So when you compare that image with this one, you actually feel, as somebody who's looking into the collection for the first time, whether it is shot by the same person or not, because it's a very different looking image, and also something that is not adding much, visual anything, nothing with respect to aesthetics, which I wanted to talk about aesthetics in this collection because that is on point. The way that color has been, the way that you have put the tones, the way that you have played around with the oranges, it's absolutely wonderful. But this image might be a bit of a turn off, I would say, because it's hitting on your eyes, right? The left hand side of the image where the sunlight is actually coming in, it is a bit uncomfortable to the eye, and it matters. If there's one image that looks like this, it does form an opinion. Maybe that is the reason why a couple of images are not selling. That's what my opinion is. And if we go back, um I think there was another, yes, just beneath the child image, the center one, yeah, correct. Even I think this is a bit weak with respect to what we just analyzed. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, there's a bit of inconsistency in this collection, and that is actually reflecting through the results that it has actually brought in. So since Iris actually asked about, what can we now do to market it, I think one, you can definitely, as we discussed, why don't you talk about these, what went behind this pretend to the city sort of a, idea? What made you actually go ahead and document these moments? What is in it in this city life that actually draws you close in it? Write a long thread about one pieces every day that you can do. What another suggestion that I had is that if you feel that maybe a couple of images might not sell, why don't you do a giveaway, a small giveaway on your platform? You can actually ask a very simple question. You can actually run a trivia or maybe a quick engagement sort of an activity, and maybe as a gesture you can actually give away one image, and maybe airdrop one more image to one of your bigger collectors which you think that maybe could engage with you in near future. That's like suggestion for two images, and the rest you can actually make those stories
Yeah.
very strong enough and then showcase to the rest of the world.
So
That's
there's 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 6 images that aren't sold out of a 20 image series. I mean, they've done pretty well so far, and so like I personally, I would, I'd probably just drop that from my series. I'd probably drop that. Oops. Oops. Trying to go back here. Personally, I dropped this one from the series. I don't think it's as strong as some of the others, and um, like I'd probably so what this hasn't sold, you know, but this is I don't think this is a bad image. So maybe this image, say you try to sell it, maybe you gift it to somebody who's done some good things for you. I think this is a good image too. Interestingly enough, though, this is New York. I'm pretty sure this is New York, and everything else is Philippines. Am I right? Like, yeah, this is Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge. This is New York. This is where I'm from. So, um, it's that shot doesn't really make sense in here, and I think you added it because you
But
like it, and
Mike,
you
what I
added it.
suggest, there's
Yeah.
there was a possibility of making this image slightly stand out. How? If Iris would have actually would have crawled and maybe sat down on the ground, there was a possibility of this person, the head of the person and the smoke coming up out would have actually merged, making that person look like an angry one. We have seen images like this in the past. In fact, I have gotten one image like this. So you had to get low to get an angle like this. For that you needed a bit of an anticipation. Right now it is becoming a documentary and a daily life shot. It would have been a street had you maybe experimented a bit with the composition. So that's, but yeah, I mean, my question is also the same as Mike, that it's probably not from the same place as the other images that were shot.
Well, it's
Iris,
not.
anything?
That's New York. That's New York City, and so
Yeah.
I think. Let me see. I thought that with photos taken, face painted scenes like Hong Kong, New York. Okay, so he says that these are taken in New York as well. So it makes sense. And so no, I think it's a good shot, and maybe you gift that to somebody, and you figure out how to get rid of the rest, how to get the rest out. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a good shot. I don't think it's a great shot compared to some of the other stuff that you have in here. So maybe this is something you pull. I mean, sometimes it just takes pulling some images to allow your series to sell out. You're like cheating a bit, but hey, so you have 20. Maybe your series has 18, and maybe you you do a giveaway, or something like that, or you gift something to someone. But you were talking about this fishbowl image that you did like this one, Sammy, right? With the
Yeah,
bags of
very
goldfish.
nice. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
very nice one. You look at the environment, you look at the hand posture of the person, the way that he's examining what exactly he's picking. It's a beautiful shot. It's an environment, and I like the tone used here as well. So this can be definitely sold, sure.
Yeah, so maybe you keep that one and try to wait for that one to sell. Maybe you keep this one and wait for this to sell, and you lose. You drop this one, this one. Maybe you drop 3 images, and you gift one. I mean, these are just ways of doing that, or you can just push your series more. I mean, talk about it more, and try to get those sales. But those are just some of the things that you could do. So let's see. What's the last activity? So the last thing that even happened in this collection was 3 months ago. So it makes me question, like, what is the artist here? Like, what have you been doing within the past 3 months that that none of these have sold? Are you active? Are you talking about your work? What is this artist here?
Yeah, Iris is here.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Actually, yeah, I have the same question. I think that's the reason why. First of all, thank you for the feedback, and I do agree that this collection, because it was my first one looking back, I wasn't really sure what I was doing, and like halfway through making the collection, I actually switched some photos out, so there may be some kind of inconsistency, and I totally agree with that. And yeah, I think like not making, having activity for the collection for the past 3 months, I was also a little bit, I wouldn't say confused, but I'm also trying to figure out the reason why. And I've definitely stayed active on Twitter, but I've only recently, find tighter communities like MetaJungle on Discord. So I feel like definitely on the social part or like promotion part could do better. But I think fundamentally, I kind of agree that those two images, like the one with secret affairs and also like the past, they don't like the rest of the images that are not sold yet. Like admittedly, I like when I put them in, I do know that they're not as strong. So I think I'll definitely give a thought about, either removing them or I'm curious about Mike and Sam. What are your thoughts if I, because I have like a few like other street vertical images in my archive. Like, what are your thoughts on like replacing them? Or should I actually just strap the photos and that would be actually easier?
Well, if you replace them, then I would definitely make a post on Twitter and say, you don't have to say that you replaced them. You can make a post on Twitter and say, like, these 4 images are left in my series to sell out, and give like a little story on them or something like that. But I don't see any problem with like gifting a couple of images to certain people that are important to you. Like, if you just want to work towards just being over this series and getting it sold out, so you can kind of move on. So there's a few different ways that you can go about it too. Or you can be like, my series is close to sell out, and maybe you can do like some type of giveaway online where, like, you can do a contest, like post your post you can do like a street photography contest where people post, and then you pick the winner of it, and then they get a free NFT of yours or something. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of get yourself out of like sort of a slow mode. But if you have better ones that you think you have that you can swap out with, then yeah, I would definitely try that, and try to market that first, maybe before you do those other things.
I see, I see. That yeah, that makes a lot of sense because and also referring to, your early observation about why I mostly pick like vertical photos, it's because I kind of want, if you see all of them in a grid, I kind of want, well, this is a thing that I realized later after I minted all my photos. I kind of want them to kind of look, occupy the same space and look more consistent when you look at the whole collection in a grid. So I just, like those two landscape ones I couldn't avoid it because they've been sold. But then for other ones I try to like actually pick vertical photos as much as possible. And yes, but you're right, because I just want to like get it over with, and because I want to start my next collection, which is like much
Yeah.
more better curated. After being in the space for a few months, I definitely learned a lot of things. So I think like those solutions that you suggest are actually really helpful. So I'll think about how to market my next steps and let people know about this collection more.
Yeah, so if you have like more moments like this one, this little one, and this one here, like these like truly like emotional moments and stuff that are going on in some of these that are really really beautiful to pull in that maybe like some of the ones like you were saying like this kind of like lack that like emotional feeling that I'm getting from some of the other images. And if you have some that you could pull in, then yeah, then definitely do that. Don't feel that's the good thing about OpenSea is that like we could remove things and bring new things in, and there's ways that you can go about this, and I think you're gonna figure it out. And I think that you'll be able to sell this out, and with it, whichever way you do it, and then you'll be able to move on. But you're a really good photographer, and you have a really good eye at finding scenes that really make me feel something, and that are really beautiful. And I think so focus more on that. Go out and shooting, and you'll get this collection sold out soon. Just work on some of the ideas that we presented to you.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the feedback, Mike and Samia. And yeah, I also want to say thank you because you guys have been giving very detailed feedback for every artist that's in here tonight. So thanks for staying so long. And yeah, I have no further questions. Thank you so
Oh,
much for the time.
thank you for staying so long. The reason why you went last is because I couldn't find your Discord name because the Discord name you wrote for the submission was different from your what was it, Pokey something? I don't
Yeah,
remember.
yeah. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry about that. Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah,
It's
that was
okay.
my end.
Yeah, but really, really great job, and please continue. And you obviously got 2.2 ETH volume traded. There's a lot of people that are like wishing and hoping they can get to that level. So you obviously are doing something right. And thanks for being here. And like, looks like this concludes today's session. This is the most artists we ever reviewed. 14 artists, lots of really beautiful work, and I hope you guys were able to take a lot out of that. We're very fortunate today to have Samia here because he's just an amazing street photographer, and he's just so well articulated and spoken. And we really look forward to doing some more street and documentary with him and seeing more beautiful work from you guys. And thanks to MetaJungle community for like making this possible for everyone, because I think like so many people are growing in the space because of this, and so many more people are selling out their collections. And Samia is an example of someone who's been in an early AMA and who has curated just a phenomenal diptych body of work and has been able to sell out. So we're really happy with what we're doing. We're really passionate about this. So thank you guys all for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Thank you for having me. Thank you, MetaJungle, for doing this so consistently, regularly. Helping artists not only with the collections but also in terms of making their works better. And I guess the fact that so many of you stuck together for 3 hours with us, it's an evidence that you guys are really appreciating the effort. So which I really love. And for Iris, I must say that Iris is actually in a time zone that I think it's around uh, I think 3:30, 3:34, 4 a.m.
It's like 4
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah, it's 4 a.m. and she has been right there, right throughout that entire, session, right from the start. It's really appreciated, and I wanted to thank everybody for being so sporting, because I know we at times went pretty deep. We analyzed, we criticized, we suggested enhancements, and you have taken it in the right spirit. I know because a lot of you are DMing me already. So Really appreciate it, and I really hope that all of you taste success in this platform, because it's all about inclusive growth and community growth that we actually look forward to. Thank you again, and that's about it from my side.
Cool. Very well said. Thank you, guys. If no one else has anything else, then we'll end this session here. It's been a little bit over 3 hours, and we covered the most artists today. So once again, thanks again, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest. Drink more water.
Yes,
Not
I need to
right
Good
eat something.
reminders. Thank you, everyone,
I
for
need
coming.
to eat.
And I need to sleep.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool. Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.